In the early 2010s, RPG horror maker games were on the rise, as well as Let's Play content on YouTube. There was Ebe, Mad Father, Ao Oni. However, there was one fateful game in this genre that always stood out to me from the rest: The Witch's House. This game was released on October 3rd, 2012. It was developed and produced by an indie video game developer named Fumi. The Witch's House was one of the top RPG horror maker games during the time of its release. The game was praised for its attention to detail, creative deaths and jump scares, and of course, its twist ending. While doing research on the creator, I realized that Fumi keeps a very low profile. Even the Witch's House wiki doesn't have a lot of details. I don't even know Fumi's gender or pronouns. Despite being completely anonymous, Fumi has made quite the impact in both the RPG Maker and Let's Play community. Like I said before, The Witch's House was one of the most popular RPG Maker horror games, competing with the likes of Ebe, and made a cult following for itself. Personally, I didn't find out about The Witch's House until the spring of 2014. I was a senior in high school, getting ready to graduate. Around this time, I took interest in other RPG horror games like Ebe and Mad Father, all thanks to the Let's Player content on YouTube. At this point, YouTube content was replacing TV for me, especially entertaining Let's Plays. It was the perfect thing to play in the background while I was cleaning or getting ready for something. Eventually, I got recommendations for Let's Plays of The Witch's House. If I remember correctly, the very first playthrough that I watched of this game was from John Wolfe, who went by Harshly Critical at the time. Of course, I then watched Markiplier and PewDiePie's playthrough, and then eventually played the game for myself. To be honest, I'm not really into horror games, but The Witch's House would end up being one of my favorite games of all time, definitely earning a spot in my top 10. I thought the puzzles were clever and intriguing, the jump scares are snappy, well executed, and even funny at times. I admired the house itself. The decor and the intricate details of each room inspired my home aesthetic. The Witch's House made me obsessed with elegant home decor and sophisticated teacups. The soundtrack is haunting, enchanting, and very unsettling at times. And of course, I love the game's heartbreaking and tragic ending. In 2018, Fumi released The Witch's House MV, a remake with improved and detailed graphics, though it's worth noting that the original already looked gorgeous. Different levels of difficulty, including Extra Mode, which is unlocked after completing the game on normal difficulty. This mode had more elaborate puzzles, more jump scares, and new pieces of lore. The Witch's House MV was like a love letter to all the dedicated fans. On May 7, 2019, Steam posted an interview with Fumi. When asked about what motivated them to do a remake of The Witch's House, Fumi answered, "I knew that if I was going to do a remake, I'd have to do it all myself. Several years ago, a few companies approached me, either asking me to do a remake with them or asking to do the remake themselves. But I knew that even if I decided to serve as the director on the project, I wouldn't be able to control all of the designs. In most development cycles, the actual production is done by different people, so it would end up as something else. The only person who can ever perfectly maintain the atmosphere of a piece is the original creator. So if I wanted to do a remake that I would be happy with, I knew I had to do it by myself." And about a couple years later after that, The Witch's House MV was made available for purchase on the Switch, PS4, and Xbox One. The Witch's House remake was published by Danjin Entertainment, an indie publishing company that I mainly know for publishing Bug Fables, another favorite game of mine. For this video, I will be looking at The Witch's House MV, but I may reference clips from other Let's Players to point out any differences between the legacy version and the remake. Interestingly enough, Fumi took inspiration from watching Let's Players. When asked about their thought process and if Fumi originally planned The Witch's House as a horror game, they responded, "When I was developing it, I enjoyed watching horror game Let's Plays, so I wanted to create a horror game that would be fun to LP. I knew what the ending would be from the beginning, so I just built the game up around that. I thought up the world and the story based on the simple ideas of a witch's house, a witch, and a demon. Personally, I am very excited to talk about this game. As you could probably tell, I'm super passionate about it and it's very special to me. I plan to cover the witch's house in great detail. I think it's the best way to cover the game because there is so much to appreciate. With that said, there will be spoilers. While the game is over 10 years old, I know that not everyone has played it, especially the remake, and I highly recommend you play this game for yourself, if you haven't done so. Although, if you get antsy around jump scares, I completely understand. Like I said earlier, I watched the Let's Plays first, and then played the game for myself, so no shame if you'd rather watch first and then play. But before we dive any deeper, I want to give a huge thank you to my friend Fuji, aka Silver Rowan, for making the thumbnail of this video. I am so appreciative of their hard work, and I really feel they capture that mysterious but intriguing vibe of this game. Please go check him out, follow him on social media, and show them your love and support. You can find Silver Rowan on Twitter and Blue Sky under the name Silver Rowan, and as well as Tumblr under the name Elite Silver Rowan. And they are currently accepting commissions, and they are fantastic to work with. Thank you again, Fuji, for collaborating with me and for all your support. One last thing, I do have to issue a content warning as this game has its fair share of gore and blood. Also, occasionally spiders and insects. So if you're squeamish, you may want to skip out on watching. Even though it's animated and the game has a cutesy art style, I get that this could still freak people out. So I will give you a few seconds to click off the video to avoid all that and the spoilers. I hope everyone's having a great day today. Okay, with all of that out of the way, it's time to explore the witch's house. The game begins with a young girl waking up in a grassy field. This is Viola. She is a 13-year-old girl who is very close with her father. She somehow finds herself stuck next to a mysterious and deadly house, deep in the heart of the woods. And that's all we really know. In your inventory, there's a torn piece of a letter from Viola's father. It reads, "I don't mind if you go out to play, but don't go too deep into the forest. Hope to see you home soon, Dad." Well, we clearly disobeyed our father. May as well go venture in this creepy house in the middle of the woods. Older versions of the witch's house actually have "I don't" cut off from the letter. So it would start with, "Mind if you go to her house." Personally, I think this was a good choice, and the slight change reads better. To the left of Viola, there's a talking black cat sitting on a tree stump. "You're up and at 'em," he says. You can explore the area and interact with objects surrounding Viola. One of the many things I love about this game is the descriptive writing for nearly everything you interact with. For example, if you interact with this log, it says, "Bugs have taken up residence in this log." It's just a log, but that little detail adds more life to the environment. There's a sign that doesn't really give us an idea of where we are, as some of the writing is illegible. All we know is that up north is someone's house, and south is the way out of the forest. Well, Viola's dad wants us away from the forest, so we should probably go south. However, if you do try to take the north pathway, there's a small patch of roses blocking the way. As you're navigating your way out of the forest, you'll quickly learn that you can't venture too far south. There is an unusually large patch of roses full of pointy thorns blocking Viola from leaving the area. We need to find a way out so we can get back home and return to Viola's worried father. So we have to do some investigating to find our way out. There's a rusty machete and a small hidden pathway nearby the large patch of roses. Side note, I love the sound effect that plays every time you find an item. It sounds mysterious, chilling, and satisfying all at the same time. The sound effects in this game are top-notch and add so much to the playing experience. Could this rusty machete be our way out? Well, the witch's roses are so strong that you can't even make a dent with your machete. Well, I guess we're stuck here forever. Or Maybe not. Remember the smaller patch of roses? Well, that's where we have to use the machete. You can use items by pulling up the menu and selecting them. Even the items have a brief but intriguing description. One thing to note is that you have to stand close to the object you want to use the item on, otherwise nothing will happen. So we are able to make a path for ourselves by using the rusty machete on the small patch of roses, bringing us ever closer to the witch's house that Viola's dad warned us about. But even the small patch of roses managed to break the machete, so we're completely defenseless again. As Viola walks north, we see our cat friend sitting on another stump and a large, foreboding house looming over us. It goes without saying, but this game's graphics and scenery are just beautiful. Even the legacy version of the witch's house looked great, but the witch's house MV enhances the details. There's more detail with the sprites, background, textures, and shading. I love the leaves blowing in the wind, as well as the added detail to the grass, plants, and trees. Everything looks like it has texture, and that is quite impressive for an indie game. We can speak to our charming black cat before entering the house. He says, "You gonna go in? Might as well if you can't leave." Interacting with the cat a second time will bring up the save screen, and you have the opportunity to save your progress. I remember quite a few Let's Players not doing that, as you're about to find out. So, we walk towards the dwelling and walk inside the house, and the front door shuts behind us. As we enter the house, we see a mostly empty room with a door ahead of us. Everything is silent. Even standing in this simple room, you can notice the detail in the game's graphics. For example, the outline of each and every brick on the wall. Once again, there's nowhere else to go but north. And it leads us to another empty room. But this time, there's a note on the wall and a mysterious red stain on the center of the ground. Carelessly walking on the red stain will immediately trigger the walls to crush Viola and kill her. The first infamous trap of the game. It never gets old watching Let's Players experience this death for the first time, because the first thing you notice is the note, and then it feels like the trap comes out of nowhere. It isn't until the third or fourth try when they realize that they have to avoid the bloodstain and then read the note on the wall. And by then they've learned that they can save their progress with the cat. The witch's house really pushes you to pay attention to the scenery. One careless mistake can lead you to the game over screen. As we finally make our way to the wall, the note reads, "Come to my room," and disappears. Ooh, creepy. Once you ever so carefully walk around the bloodstain and out of the door, you'll notice that things have changed in the first room. There are 2 tables with faces on them, and the black cat. Additionally, we get a first impression of the game's soundtrack. The music that plays on the first floor is definitely eerie, but not over the top. It's minimal, but there are foreboding undertones. The hollow echoes in particular are enough to give anyone goosebumps. But believe it or not, this is not the creepiest track in the game. Our lovely cat friend tells us that he's just following us for laughs. I'm sure it will please him to know that he's in for a very fun time, because I did get most of the deaths while recording gameplay for this video. Okay, so what's next? So far, we have the main entrance with our cat, and unfortunately the door is locked and we can no longer go outside. To the left of the entrance is a dusty sewing room with one large desk and scissors chained to it. There's another door, but it's locked. To the right of the main room, we have a hallway with a grandfather clock. Time marches on. There are also 2 more rooms to explore. We have an empty room with one teddy bear sitting in a basket, with a note that reads, "Bear's in the basket." Entering the room on the top right, we see a cozy study with a pile of presents sitting at the bottom, including a teddy bear that you can take with you. Again, I really enjoy looking at the decor and fixtures of the house. It's not just a witch's house, it's a witch's home. One thing I noticed is the amount of space the remake has in comparison to the original. When I was looking at old gameplay footage, I noticed that the rooms and hallways are a lot tighter and cramped, whereas in the remake, you can move around more freely. Roses adorn the desk. Again, these brief but intriguing descriptions gives us a taste of this game's eloquent writing. Additionally, on the desk you can read the witch's diary, and this will appear throughout the game. The first entry reads, "I was sick, so no one played with me. My father and my mother didn't love me." How sad. There's a dark brown cabinet placed at the top right side of the room. It's locked, but there's a message engraved on it that says, "Open when the house returns to normal." Remember that for later. So that's the current layout of the house. To further progress, we need to unlock the door in the sewing room. The first hint we're given is bears in the basket. We have a teddy bear in our inventory, but we're unable to place it in the basket because its limbs are too big to fit. So remember the scissors chained on the desk in that sewing room? Turns out it's there for a reason, and we use that to cut off the teddy bear limbs. To quote Markiplier, this game jumps straight into the creepy stuff. Before we leave the room, a hostile bloody paw print appears next to Viola. But would you look at that? The teddy bear fits in the basket, and we unlocked the door in the sewing room and can move forward. Oh. The giant teddy bear chase has to be the most iconic jump scare in the witch's house. Every time I watched a new Let's Play of the witch's house, I was eager to see the player's reaction to the giant angry bear ready to avenge his teddy bear brethren. And of course, this is the first time we hear the infamous chase theme. The track is brief, but still scary. It will make you jolt, elevate your heart rate. It does the job. Before you enter the next room, the teddy bear limbs you cut off will drop behind Viola. Again, creepy. If you read the description, it says that the insides are fleshy. Ew. The next door leads us to the dining room, which has a gothic but sophisticated aesthetic. There's also a door that leads us back to the main entrance, and we can save by the cat. Geez, you freaked me out. Don't come out of nowhere like that. To the north of the dining room is a kitchen that has seen better days. The appliances are rusty, and the floor and sink have bugs scurrying around. There's an open cabinet lined with tableware, glasses, and seasonings, but nothing useful we can take with us. The door at the bottom right is locked, so we have to explore the area to find a way to progress. In the dining room, there are 2 notes. The first one is on the left side of the table and says, "Check for poison." Fun fact, the original version of the game said, "Taste poison," which may have been misleading to players. On the center of the table, there is a skull-shaped bowl full of a mysterious green liquid. That looks pretty poisonous to me. It's advised not to drink the poison. The game will even question your judgment if you choose yes, but I bet you want to see all the dumb ways to die in this game, don't you? The door to the next room does unlock. So technically we did solve the puzzle for tasting the poison, but Viola doesn't make it that far. If you pull up the menu before Viola's last step, you'll see that she's not reacting well to the poison, and that her HP is nearly depleted. Yes, there is HP in this game, but it doesn't really matter when a lot of things can kill you instantly. So, back to the title screen. The other note says, "The chef is busy. Lend a hand." There's an invisible man working in the kitchen, and if you talk to him, he says, I'm busy, so busy." Speaking to him gives you the option to lend a hand, so let's help out. Maybe we'll play one of those cute kitchen minigames where we chop veggies or something. Oh, thank you. The invisible person grabs your arm. They push your wrist on the cutting board. A hand is exactly what I needed. Uh-oh. So the chef needs us to lend them a hand, but not with our own. That's why we have the teddy bear limbs. Oh, thank you. I was in need of a hand or two. In exchange, the chef gives us a silver key, but the key won't work on the locked door. If you even attempt it, several cockroaches fall on Viola. Gross, 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 gross. So you need to do some investigating on how the silver key will help us. As intimidating as this game is, the puzzles are not impossible. It just takes a little bit of exploring and figuring out what you can use in your surroundings. The first floor gives us a taste on how the puzzles work. The open books and notes around the house serve as hints to guide you in the right direction. In the kitchen, there's an open book sitting on the table. Side note, I love how Viola's eyes focus when she's reading something. This is a new detail in the remake. Her old sprite didn't display that many facial expressions in the original due to limitations. It's just a really nice, thoughtful touch. By reading the book, you'll learn that wealthy aristocrats use silver cutlery as a means to test for poison. Well, we have a silver key, and we know the poison sitting on the table is the key to unlocking the kitchen door, so by putting 2 and 2 together, we can use our silver key to test the poison. It's worth mentioning that you do have the option to hit the bowl with the key, and it makes a pleasing sound. By dropping the silver key into the bowl of poison, we hear the door unlock, granting us access to the next floor. Of course, the game has to sneak a little jump scare in by making one of the wine bottles fall next to Viola. Also, this part happens really fast, but like a shadowy figure rushes out of the chimney. You can actually check the chimney, but you can't see anything but soot. So, the only thing we can do is continue scaling up the witch's house. As we walk up the stairs, we see a mysterious girl with purple hair disappear into the second floor. Is that the witch? Will we see her again? Now, this level ramps up the creepiness. Immediately, players will notice how unsettling the music is. I've played this game hundreds of times, and this track never fails to give me goosebumps. While the first floor had a somewhat cozy vibe, this floor feels completely unwelcoming and eerie. We first step into the main hallway, and at least our black cat is there, sitting next to the creepy armored statue. By the end of the hallway, there's a locked door with a written message that says, "Save the butterfly." So this floor has a hallway and 3 main rooms. A library, a room with glass displays of insect models, and an abandoned storage room with barrels, cobwebs, and the butterfly we need to save. Well, that's easy. Yeah, taking the butterfly with you without a replacement will make the giant spider drop down and rip Viola's head off. So we'll have to leave the butterfly for now. But we can take this piece of rope stored away in one of the barrels. The hint also tells us that the spider is colorblind, so it seems that we need to find a replica. This room is definitely the eeriest on the floor, but I still admire the attention to detail. You can see the tiling, and the shading makes the cement ground look real. As you leave the spider room and make your way to the library, the armored knight will lift his spear, giving many people a decent scare. You thought it moved slightly. Must be your imagination. Not the game gaslighting me. The next room is a spacious library full of the witch's books. This is where you can read the infamous funny story. Do you like funny stories? Once upon a time, there was a rich man pulling along a cart full of treasure. His cart broke down in the woods, but then a hunter and his dog came along. The rich man pleaded to the hunter to keep a close eye on his cart, to which the hunter agreed. The rich man went to get a new cart. Meanwhile, the hunter kept watch. Night soon fell, and the hunter grew worried for his elderly mother still at home. So the hunter told the dog to watch the cart and went home to check on his mother. When the rich man returned, he saw the dog guarding the cart. So he gave the dog a reward for his master, a silver coin to carry in his mouth. The dog ran all the way home and brought his master the coin. But the hunter flew into a rage. "I told you to watch the cart, and what did you do? You stole from it!" So the master killed the dog. This game is twisted. The library contains other brief books, or more like snippets, and newspaper clippings you can read to learn more about the witch, her magic, and the house. When you read the newspaper clipping, you can briefly see the witch's face appear on the mirror. If you bring Viola in the view of the mirror and keep her there for a few seconds, the witch will pop up behind her and the mirror immediately shatters. I remember getting so creeped out when I saw this event for the first time. I will say, while the ambiance is still eerie, I feel the safest in the library out of all these areas on the second floor. One thing I've noticed about this game is that areas where there are diaries or bookshelves seem like a safe space for the player. Nothing bad happens to Viola, and you can read the text at your leisure, completely going against Super Mario 64's haunted library logic. However, there is one exception that we will get to soon. To move forward, we have to speak to the invisible person in the library who's trying to sort books together. You hand them the rope you found in the barrel, and as their token of appreciation, they give you the Book of Death. Reading the cover won't kill you, apparently. To those who are curious enough to read it, the Book of Death will make Viola's eyes itch, causing her to bleed uncontrollably through her eyes and die. I mean, what more could you expect from the Book of Death? As we exit the library, we see that our armored statue friend has decided to take an evening stroll. Hopefully he enjoys his walk and doesn't come back to kill us. The insect room is also unnerving to navigate, especially because you're so on guard on what could possibly jump out at you. Okay, that part always made me so nervous. If you look closely, you can see a blue butterfly model, but the container is held firmly shut. As you travel further in this room, you'll find a bookshelf with one open spot. I'm guessing that's where the Book of Death goes. The game tricks you by giving you the option to read the Book of Death first. I remember seeing so many Let's Players picking the option just without even thinking. Again, you have to really pay attention to what you're doing. So first you have to deny the option to read the book, and then the option to place the book on the shelf appears. As soon as Viola places the book on the shelf, we hear the sound of the glass container opening, and we can get the butterfly model. But as we step closer, a rabid skull chases after you, and you have to loop around it without getting attacked. Of course, getting crushed by the skull will kill Viola, and you have to start back from your last save. This is definitely one of the harder obstacles to avoid because the pathway is so narrow, and you could easily run into the skull by accident. Additionally, if you're not careful, the skull can switch directions when you're looping around the bookcase. This skull has sent me back to the start countless times whenever I attempted a no-save playthrough, so I can't help but get nervous around this part of the game. I've seen a couple of speedruns where the player is able to dodge the skull in the narrow hallway and save a few seconds of time, but I've never been able to do it. In fact, looping around the bookcase is already difficult enough for me. One thing to note is that you have to leave the room immediately. The butterfly model case won't open if you try to take it, and the skull will kill you anyway. Now, I actually have a little update for this section. One of the beautiful things about the witch's house is that there is so much rich detail, and you may not notice it on your first, second, or even third playthrough. In fact, some details you won't find out about until many years later. You know how there's this portrait near the bookshelf? It looks pretty unassuming. It's a painting of a lady with her parasol by the river. Once you place the Book of Death on the bookshelf, and as you walk away, you hear the sound of the skull coming out of the container. Before you go any further, you can actually go back and interact with the portrait, and it says, "The lady with the parasol is grinning at you." The chills I felt while reading that. She knows what's about to happen. And you have to trigger that sound effect to get the description to change. Because you could place the Book of Death and interact with the portrait before triggering the sound, and it will just say a painting of a lady with her parasol by the river. It's not until you hear the skull come out from its case where she smiles at you because she knows you're about to die. In my opinion, it is so unsettling. I've been playing this game for over 10 years, and I didn't find out about this detail until March of 2025. And look, I know it's not that big of a deal, but it's a big deal for me, damn it. In my opinion, tiny changes like that are so effective in making me feel uncomfortable and anxious. I knew what was about to happen, and yet reading that gave me goosebumps. Well, too bad for her. We're not dead. We see that our statue friend is back, and the cat doesn't even say anything. That moment when you realize you have to come back to get the butterfly model, you're hesitant when you walk back in. It's completely silent, and you don't know whether or not the skull is truly gone. I mean, even though I've played this game countless times, I still worry that the skull is gonna come back and kill me. But thankfully the skull seemed to have completely vanished, and we can grab the blue butterfly model. Now we have something to distract the spider with, and we can save the butterfly. But of course the game has to jump scare us by opening a hole in the floor, trying to drag us back to hell. As we walk out of the abandoned storage room, the butterfly is free as it flutters out of Viola's hand, allowing us access to the next floor. I really love how they included this animation in the remake. But as you walk down the hall, you may notice that the library is mysteriously open. In all seriousness, trigger warning, I don't think I need to explicitly say what has happened to the book sorter. That's our sign to get out of here. Let's move on. Walking up the next set of stairs, we see these jute bags scattered on the ground, which feels sort of random. The next room is empty, except for a candle lamp with mysterious sticky red stains and the cat. With him sitting there, it's probably a good idea to save. As we progress through this long hallway, out of nowhere these knives come flying towards Viola, and you have to avoid them. This is another area I struggle with during my no save attempts, especially in extra mode, which we'll talk about later. It's that last knife you have to look out for. But once you make it through, you'll finally reach the third floor's main hallway. Interestingly enough, if you decide to backtrack, the previous hallway isn't there anymore. So remember the jute bags Viola passed by up the stairs? There's another jute bag sitting by the door, and you have the option to tear it open. If you choose to tear it open, you'll discover that it's full of dead cats. Yeah. Just thought you'd want to know that. This floor's setup is really interesting. Not every room is available like it was on the second floor. You have to complete certain tasks to progressively move and complete the level. In my opinion, floor 3 is a relaxing change of pace from floor 2. And the best part is that there are no scary chase scenes. The music is oddly calming, but again has foreboding undertones. The melody gives it an air of mystery. It's definitely one of my favorite tracks in the game. There's a switch at the bottom to unlock the door on the right, but the bridge is pretty thin and could snap under our weight. So, let's cross it. Just kidding. Do you like frogs? Well, it doesn't matter how you feel, your new frog companion is coming with you. He's a lost frog who's searching for his home, and he's eager to help you. He will hop to the other side of the thin bridge to flip the switch and unlock the door. So cute. What just happened? let's save again. The next room is gorgeous. To advance, you have to rearrange the items on both sides of the room to make a mirror image. One of the things you have to do is set your frog down on the middle chair on the left side. You also have to be observant to notice certain items out of place. I enjoy puzzles like these. It's very calming and relaxing. Again, this is a nice break from all the horrors we had to experience on level 2. I love the floor tiling, the soft lighting, and the overall decor in this room. I love the cabinet, the tea sets you see on top of the shelves, the roses and cakes. Again, despite being a major death trap, this place feels like a home. Moments like these are what makes this game so comforting to me. Alright, we finished rearranging everything, so now what? This place looks pretty mirrored to me. Ah, clever. Very clever. And we can advance to the next room, but don't forget your frog and a save. This room looks like another study, and we have an opportunity to read another entry from the witch's diary. My father and my mother didn't love me, so I X'd them. I've been in this house ever since. There is also a mysterious hint that reads, "Through this door until the next, let nothing distract you." This is another part of the game where a lot of YouTubers have messed up. See? Don't get distracted. Ooh, nice. There are more things we can read. Oh. Yes, that also means not interacting with the cat or looking at all the books. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Congratulations, you have fought off all temptation and survived. As we enter the next room, the music cuts off and the atmosphere becomes uncomfortably eerie again. There's a single note on the floor. It's hungry. There's a door on the left, and it gives us the option to listen and view out the door's window. There's something slimy rumbling from the other side of the door. Of course, if you just barge right in, Viola gets eaten by a large snake. Okay, so how are we supposed to get past this dangerous snake? You wonder, what am I supposed to do? And then you remember. The frog happily sitting in your inventory. If you try petting the frog in this room, it will say, "The frog is incredibly frightened. He senses what lurks beyond the door." But that's our frog. We can't just give him up. Maybe you try to take the stuffed frog from the chair, but the game doesn't allow you. It seems like there's no other option. Are we really going to do this? Before we push the frog through the window, the game has to guilt trip us one more time and say that the frog is reluctant. So we force it in. Don't tell Big the cat, okay? The deed is done. As we enter the next room, all we can hear are the drops of water coming out from somewhere. One of the creepier moments is returning back to the snake room immediately after seeing the ghost of Froggy. Now, I'm gonna issue another content warning because this might gross some people out. Content warning for guts and organs and blood. Skip to this part if you don't want to see. When you immediately go back in the room, the floor is a large organ and you hear gurgling noises. It's like the snake's intestines are digesting the frog. It's sick, but we carry on and venture forward. Finally, we hear that relaxing third floor music again and pass by several cat statues. This is definitely a good opportunity to save after all that you just experienced. Of course, the game still has to trip us out one more time before we move on. The environment gets progressively creepier as we see these faces drawn to the wall. This note reads, "Go where only one eye is open." The faces were unsettling when the first version of the game released back in 2012, but in the Witch's House MV, they are horrifying. So this puzzle sort of tripped up many Let's Players at the time. Two of the faces have their eyes closed, while one face has their eyes wide open. If you enter the mouth of any of these faces, Viola gets impaled by spikes. By interacting between the open eye and the closed eye, a hidden pathway opens up for us. We enter the hole and make it to the next floor. But of course, the game takes an opportunity to creep the player out by making the open eye watch Viola crawl through the hole. By chance, if you got a game over by taking the wrong entrance, blood will appear on the spikes. But we officially made it to the 4th floor. As we enter the next level, we are immediately greeted with silence. There's a note right in front of Viola that says, "Make noise in 4 rooms." Thankfully, we're not completely alone, as our black cat is chilling on top of a stool. He comments about how quiet this floor is. The cat sitting on the stool is a new little detail in the remake. In the original version, he was just standing at the bottom right. I really like this update. It's the little things, you know. There's also a toy soldier standing in the top right corner of the hallway. Interacting with it says that it's carrying a fake gun. Now, this floor intimidated me when I played it the first few times. The silence makes the 4th floor arguably the most nerve-wracking level in the game. It always feels like you're on edge, waiting for something to jump out and attack you. The puzzles themselves can be a little tricky, but makes sense once you figure it out. Currently, we're in the general hallway, and there are 3 rooms attached. To the left is a spacious and cozy living room. I like that the walls are a nice, velvety maroon color. I also really like the floor pattern as well. It gives it a very old-fashioned, homey look. Color scheme-wise, this feels like the most unique room of the house so far, since the other rooms utilized a lot of blues and grays. There are a couple of sofas and coffee tables with playing cards and teacups on them. And there's a vanity mirror next to the entrance of the room. And you may have noticed the red music box on the north side of the room. The note above it says, "Play the music box with 12. Well, we do need to make sound in 4 rooms, so may as well play it. I guess we should figure out how to make sound in the other rooms. Oh.
Fake gun my ass.
There's also a small study to the left of this room that contains a jack-in-the-box. Its face pops out when you interact with it. You can also read another entry of the witch's diary. After that, I X'd all my friends who came over to play. Then I fed them all to the house. But it wasn't enough. Not much else you can do here, so might as well leave. Wait, did he just look at me? Aw, he's blushing. I'm not really sure if there's any significance to this mirror. Oh my god. Yeah, if you approach the mirror after you see the red jack-in-the-box, it will show Viola's face with red, paint. I actually completely forgot about this detail, and it gave me chills while I was poking around the area while trying to write out the video. Very creepy. The room to the right of the hallway is another spacious living room, but with less furniture and 4 portraits of women, each with different colored hair. I can see how Fumi was inspired by Ib. The door at the center of the paintings is locked. In the middle of the room, there's a table with playing cards on it. You get a little hint when you inspect the table. Some playing cards. There's a 12 card with a queen on it, and a 13 card with a king on it. And there's a note next to the entrance that says, "Blue eyes see the score." And of course, you probably noticed the 3 pumpkins on the ground. 2 of them have faces carved into them while the other one does not. You have the option to hit each pumpkin. The jack-o'-lanterns don't really make much of a sound, but the other pumpkin does. I like that you hear a funky little beat whenever you hit the pumpkin. Doing it a few times will open the door in front of us. And would you look at that, we successfully managed to make sound in 1 room. But before I forget, there's also that room north of the hallway. It has a grand piano. That's another way we can make sound. This room is absolutely stunning and has such a classy feel to it. The indigo blue walls really make everything else pop out, like the eloquent tiling on the floor. I love the intricate details on the rug and the floral design throughout its perimeter. The shading makes it look like the carpet has a soft texture. And I love looking at the vase of roses. It's so aesthetically pleasing and just makes the room feel very graceful. Again, I really admire the simple yet elegant decor of the witch's house. There's a bookcase on the top left, various chairs placed at the corners of the room, and of course, the grand piano that you can play. Or not. The note behind the piano says, "You need not play." The door to the north of the room is locked, but there's a written message. "Make noise in 4 rooms." Okay, so we can't play the music box or else we'll get shot. We can't play the piano without being eaten. It seems like you can't make any noise in the study. How the hell are we supposed to make sound in 3 more rooms? Again, we have to do some investigating. Back to that mysterious door we unlocked after hitting the pumpkin. When you go in there, you'll see another room with various pieces of decor and furniture. It's another puzzle. The note reads, "I can be the sun, I can be sand, and I can be a bird. What am I?" You have to approach the correct object and nod yes to solve the riddle. If you nod your head yes to the wrong object, surprisingly, you don't die. The object will bleed, or in the chair's case, get very angry, and Viola is immediately kicked out of the room. It's still very abrupt and can catch people off guard. If you keep answering wrong, you can go back to the note and it will give you an additional hint. I can even be an elderly man. What am I? Let's go with the woman. Let's go with the plant. Let's go with the chair again. Did you answer wrong on purpose? Yeah, I was just messing around. Ooh, sorry. I wonder what happens when you say no. No, I didn't get them wrong on purpose. I'm just stupid. Oh, nothing happens. The answer is the clock. I can be the sun, sundial, I can be the sand, hourglass, I can be a bird, cuckoo clock, elderly man, grandfather clock. Huh. I actually thought elderly man would be like Father Time, but that makes more sense. A turn key drops out of the grandfather clock. It's the queen key, a small turn key with a queen engraved on the end. The table in the painting room had a 12 card with a queen on it, and the note in the music box room said to play the box with 12. We can insert the queen key into the music box and be spared from the wrath of the toy soldier. Two down, 2 more to go. Back to the piano room. By interacting with the bookcase, we learn about women in this region and how each woman has a specific eye color depending on what their hair color is. For example, silver-haired women have red eyes. Of course, this is related to the 4 portraits we saw earlier, and the note, "Blue eyes see the score." Based on the information we're given, we can deduce that the lady with the black hair has blue eyes. Her gaze is fixed towards the wall on the other side. There's a sheet of paper sticking out. Oh my god. Holy fuck. Yeah, definitely one of the freakiest chase scenes in the game. If you get caught, Viola gets turned into a painting. If you approach the gaze from the other portrait ladies, this happens. This is another chase that can be easy to fail, especially when playing on a keyboard. The painting lady is so fast, and you have to tear off her portrait until she turns you into one. When I was recording gameplay footage for this video for a no-save run, I kept losing to the painting lady, and it was super frustrating because at this point, I'm about 20 minutes into the game and trying to speed through it as fast as I can. At this point, I'm feeling the pressure, and like my fingers would slip, and I keep missing the portrait and get a game over, and then have to start all over. One little detail that gets overlooked is that the note next to the door slightly moves up and down. If you're fast enough to get there in time, it tells you to destroy the painting. It's pretty nice that the message changes because this part could be confusing for first-time players. And you're probably in shock that a freaky, demonic painting, without warning, comes to life and is trying to kill you. Alright, we got the sheet music. Time to place it on the piano and make more sound. Oh, that's right, you need not play. Once you place the sheet music, the piano plays a beautiful yet haunting tune. See, you needed not play. Aw, how nice. After getting the piano to play, we successfully made another sound in a room and obtained a king key, a small turnkey with a king engraved on the end. Fun fact, if you go out of your way to place the king key in the music box, just for funsies, the soldier will still shoot you, cause, it's the wrong key. So that leaves just one more room we have to make one more sound in. But where? It can't be the study, so maybe we have to go back to that other room with the angry furniture. Okay, one moment that never fails to give me goosebumps is this. Seeing the painting lady peek her head out of the ripped up portrait, it is so freaky, but very well done. It's just another thing that keeps you on guard. By entering the last room, all there's left is the grandfather clock and the chair. I see where this is going. We insert the king key into the grandfather clock, which gets it to work. And with the soft ticking of the clock, we have successfully made sound in 4 rooms. We hear a door unlock. We can finally progress. But of course, the game still has to creep us out a couple times before we move on. Hello? A beautiful collection of lilies. Okay, if you say so. No, don't fuck with me, please. Okay, the next room is very dark and blue. If you look closely, there's a crack on the wall and you can tear a hole through it and find another entry of the witch's diary. I hate my illness. It kept me from going outside. It kept people from loving me. In the middle of the room, there's a statue of a sobbing woman, and when you interact with her, she says, "My ring, I can't find it." Are you ignoring me? Listen, lady, not to sound rude, but we got places to be. I see. That's great, let's move on. Oh, all right, I'll find your ring. Or not, what the hell was that? If you have the courage to walk out of the room, you'll see the piano standing in place, despite making a disturbing noise earlier. The performance has ended. Has this fireplace been here before? Looking through the chimney, Viola will spot an iron ladder that will allow you to travel down. All of a sudden, a black arrow appears, directing the player to go down the chimney. If you decide to go to the black cat to save, he'll say, "Heard a loud crash. Something happen?" Okay, so one thing that might feel random but isn't is the toy soldier appearing next to you after you look through the chimney. To get this to happen, you have to pass by him after the piano crash and before you look at the chimney. He will tilt his head as you're presumably going to save, and then when you look through the fireplace, you'll see him appear next to you. Well, we need to get this lady's ring for us to progress. As Viola climbs down the ladder, you can hear the sound of something boiling. As she climbs out of the fireplace, we discover that we've returned to the first floor of the game. Except the atmosphere is darker and eerily quiet. Creepy-looking busts are sitting at the table having a dinner party. Good for them, I guess. If you try leaving the dining room, one of the busts will quickly approach Viola. And let me tell you, I got chills the first time that happened. Can I just say, the silence and the blue hue makes me miss the house's original environment and ambiance when we first started the game. Ironically, the witch's house felt a lot more welcoming than it does now. I can't help but feel like I'm being watched. The arrow next to the fireplace is directing us to go to the kitchen. And that's where you see the boiling pot sitting on top of the stove. We have the option to stop the fire and uncover the lid. Additionally, we could search the pot, but Viola would not dare to do that with her bare hands. Understandably so. Apparently, it smells rotten. So we need to find something we can use to search through the pot. All of a sudden, the door ahead of us slams shut. But that door wasn't visible before when we first played the game. Do we dare enter inside? There's nothing in here we can use to dig through that pot. So I guess we open the door.
Get on the floor. Everybody do the dinosaur.
I've heard of skeletons in the closet, but this is ridiculous. If you interact with any of the skeletons, you'll learn that none of them have hands. But there has to be something in here we can use. This game might try to freak us out, but they don't just have rooms just to have them. There's always something significant to each area. To the far left, Viola finds golden chopsticks in the ribs of one of the skeletons. That's it. We can now search through the pot. But as we leave, a skeleton pile nearly strikes at Viola. Yeah, we better make this quick. As we use the chopsticks to search the pot, we find a pig ring? Oh, hello. If you try leaving the kitchen, you'll learn that the door to the dining room is locked. A note will appear on the table to hint that you're supposed to return the golden chopsticks back to the skeleton. So this is the part where you don't want to speed through the text because you don't want to accidentally pick the wrong option. Picking the wrong option will result in the invisible chef throwing a knife at Viola. So make sure you put the chopsticks back in the skeleton's ribs. As we make our exit, one of the skulls makes a chirping noise. I'd like to think that they're thanking us, you know? The cabinet slams behind us, blocking the skeleton room, making that our cue to leave. But as we go back to the dining room, we hear someone coming from down the stairs, and we only have 5 seconds to make it back up. That timer really gives you a sense of panic. You have to haul ass back to the fireplace as quickly as possible, and it doesn't help that holes in the floor get in the way. If you don't make it in time, the invisible chef will bust out and stab Viola, making you search for the pig ring all over again. But we managed to make it back up in time. Definitely one of the most intense puzzles of the game, and a really neat way to change things up and bring us back to the first floor again. I think it's genius that the 4th level is the quiet level. It really does make you miss the ambiance from the previous floors and makes them feel a lot more welcoming. All right, here's your ugly ring, lady. This is it. Thank you. We can finally advance to the next floor. Oh, come on, what now? If you're curious enough to go back, you'll see that the statue lady collapsed. I guess she realized that ring was worth nothing and just shattered at the thought. She looks directly at Viola right before she heads back up the stairs, but we gotta move on. The hallway to the next floor is dark, and it's still eerily quiet. It really does feel like something could just jump out and... Interesting. The witch saved us from herself? After all that trouble, we finally arrive at the 5th level, the best floor and the largest floor in the game. First things first, we have to rearrange the dolls and match them to their appropriate color. The purple doll is seemingly missing, but the door unlocks when you organize the other 3 dolls. I can't help but get the jitters when I see the doll heads turn towards Viola as she enters the next level. The main room is an artificial garden with various roses, a bench, and a giant tree looming over a tiny white flower in the center. Our black cat friend is sitting on the bench next to a cup of ginger tea. Yo, seems like this is the top floor, he says. It looks like we're getting close to the end. And you know, I have to gush over the music once again. It sounds so elegant yet foreboding. In a way, it sounds like you're close to figuring out the witch's secret. It is my favorite track of the game. Like Floor 3, the music and environment provides a calming presence, which makes a nice change of pace, considering all that we had to experience during the 4th floor. The setup for this floor is really cool and has to be my favorite of the game. Again, it feels like a home, and if it weren't for all the death traps, I would actually like to be there. I love the flower arches near the doorway. It truly makes it feel like an actual garden. I also love that in the remake, you can see rose petals fluttering down to the ground. It just adds a really nice touch to the garden. In fact, the rose bushes look fuller in the remake, and I like that there's a lot more going on in the environment. In the old version, the walls were a darker color. I think the lighter walls in the remake gives it a more open, calmer vibe. I like how you can see the brick walls and the light fixtures, a subtle reminder that it's still an artificial garden. As I mentioned earlier, Floor 5 is the largest floor in the game, and it's honestly kind of a gauntlet in comparison to the other floors. While I think the other levels have more challenging chase sequences, there are many ways to die here if you aren't careful or you're just messing around for funsies. Like the 1st and 4th floor, you'll start with having access to a couple of rooms and will have to solve more puzzles to unlock other areas of the floor. With this being the last level, the puzzles are definitely the most mind-boggling and require you to really pay attention to your surroundings and the hints scattered throughout the floor. With that said, I'll walk you through the puzzles without getting too caught up in the details. There are so many little touches I love on this floor, but I don't want to overwhelm anyone who's already played it. Of course, we start off in the garden, which is the main area and also the safest. Nothing scary will happen here, and if you want, you can just chill and relax to the music. I don't know if horror enthusiasts would agree, but I like that this floor feels welcoming, especially in comparison to past levels. Large plants block the door ahead, preventing us from moving north. The note to the right reads, "Birds eat greenery." Now, the cat isn't the only one you can talk to. You can actually interact with this tree. Need something from me? Yeah, tell me how to solve this puzzle. Well, I need nothing from you. Be silent. Okay. Ah, that's right. I must warn you. Do not disturb the Keeper of Time. There's also a white flower in front of the elder tree. When you interact with a beautiful flower, it asks, "How do you do?" Aw, what a sweetheart. To the left of the garden, there is a spacious room with yellow flowers sitting at the dining table and having a tea party. There are slices of chocolate and strawberry shortcake on fancy little plates, and the shelves are lined with more canned sweets. I'm not gonna lie, I'm getting kinda hungry, especially because I love strawberry shortcake. I like that throughout the game, you'll occasionally see a teacup or a slice of cake sitting on a table or piece of furniture. It's a nice little detail that tells you the witch really likes sweets and drinking tea. There's also a large bed that Viola can lay in. I really like this room. There's a cozy feeling to it, and the flowers make you feel less alone. Something about it reminds me of all the summers I spent at my grandparents' house on my dad's side of the family. The room is simple, but feels relaxing to be in. Similar to the decor here, my grandmother had a collection of teacups and fancy dinnerware that she'd use for special occasions. And there were always sweets available, and, it was just a fun time as a kid. It's weird to say, but I get that sense of nostalgia in this room. Like the main garden, nothing bad really happens in this room. There's a grandfather clock that you can touch for some reason. It's kind of silly to have that option, but I guess that's what the tree meant about disturbing the Keeper of Time. Okay, aside from that, nothing in this room is a threat to Viola. To the south, there's a room that we can't enter because it's too dark. And to the left, we have another study where we can read the next entry of the witch's diary. Once we get past another hole that randomly opened up from the floor. This diary looks different than the others, as it looks like there's blood on the pages. In red text, the entry reads, "Then a girl came over to play. A cute girl with golden braids." Okay, hitting a little close to home. Let's see what the yellow flowers are talking about. Honestly, she's such a nuisance. Just think, without her, we'd be the most beautiful of the garden. I know, right? Oh my, you have such big arms. Oh, won't somebody X that girl? If someone did. Ah, yes, we'd share some of our wonderful pollen. I imagine it'd be quite easy for you to X her with your great big arms. But wait, X the flower and you'll die too. The area on the right is probably the most difficult to explain to someone who has never seen this game before, but basically it's this dark dungeon-like room with a couple of jail cells. If you go to the north, you'll see 2 other doors. The door on the right is blocked by the same plants we saw in the garden, and the room at the top leads us to a big hole with no visible bottom. So there's nothing we can do here for now. Between the 2 jail cells, there's a note that says medicine. You can interact with these 2 cells. Both of them are locked, but you can hear someone moaning from the inside on the right one, and you have the option to talk to them. Medicine, you got any? I do not. They spit at you? Rude. Next to that cell is a metal bird cage with something invisible inside that feebly flaps its wings. It's the bird that the garden note was referring to. The bird cage is firmly shut, and to the very right, there are some freaky-looking red plants that are whispering to one another. Luckily for us, there's a little guide that can help us get to know the many plants in the garden. On the small desk next to the doorway, there's a book that reads The Talkative Plants. They're all beautiful and love to chat. The white flowers are the most beautiful of the garden. Oddly enough, their petals glow in the rain. The red grasses are wise, but they're always lying, so be careful when conversing with them. The yellow flowers are lovely to a fault. The pollen produced by these flowers is a prized medicine that can both save and take lives. The yellow flowers mentioned that they'd share their pollen if we X the beautiful flower, and it looks like this guy could really use it, but we can't X the flower, otherwise we'll get impaled by its thorns. That's where the red grasses come into play. You can talk to the red grasses to learn how to X a flower, but keep in mind, they're always lying. I forget what exactly the proper way to X is. It was either cutting it up or uprooting it. Uprooting and plucking are both proper ways to X. The last one says, none of the 3 ways to X are proper. You should just give up on it. Okay, well, we at least know that last one is a lie. Hello? A random skull appears on the chair. Should we even be carrying that skull? Isn't that a bad omen? Well, now that we know 3 potential methods to X, we have to figure out which is the correct one. We can now talk to the beautiful flower again, and the 3 methods the red grasses told us about appear as options. But if you pick the wrong one, the flower impales you with its thorny vines. So, when I first watched playthroughs of it, I was convinced that uprooting was the correct answer because it was mentioned twice. But to my confusion, plucking is the correct method. I couldn't understand why, because my logic was if uprooting is mentioned in 2 of the answers, wouldn't that make it correct? But I think the answer comes down to the phrasing. One of the red grass responses was, I forget what exactly the proper method is, but it's either cutting it up or uprooting. That right there is a lie because they didn't forget. The other answer was uprooting and plucking are both proper ways to X, which is a partial lie since uprooting is incorrect. But anyway, the answer is plucking. With a strange shriek, the beautiful flower expires. You can pick up the white petals off of the ground for your inventory. That's interesting. It says that the petals litter the ground. The inventory description keeps it simple. Beautiful white flower petals. Probably best to save. Now that's mean. Okay, well, she probably had it coming. Or maybe Viola truly is a mean girl. Well, we did the deed. Now we can collect our reward. I heard it. I heard her ugly wail. I heard it, I heard it, I heard it. Wow, what a bunch of mean girls. Everyone here's a mean girl. Ah, yes, our promise. Here you are. We got the white pollen. Goopy pollen from the yellow flowers. Ugh, yuck. But now we have the medicine that guy in the cell needs. Leaving the yellow flowers to their fun chat, we briefly see the witch sitting on the bench next to the black cat before she disappears. This must be a spot where she'd like to hang out. When we arrive at the jail cell and offer the pollen, the mysterious man rattles the metal door, causing a loud clank. Hey, give me that! If you feel like being mean and decline, he'll shake the cell door again, causing Viola to move back. That's actually kind of scary. We should give him the pollen. Viola slips the white pollen through the bars, and the invisible person swiftly grabs the pollen. But something isn't right. Wait a sec. Don't have one. Without one, I can't smoke it without one. Wait, did we just give him crack? I'm kidding. I don't know anything about drugs, okay? The mysterious person's outburst causes the metal cage to fall on the ground. We can pry open the door, allowing the mysterious invisible bird to leave. Red stains seep through the note when we walk past it. The note now reads, "It needs to be smoked." And there's some red text that says, "Hidden in the darkness." But thanks to the invisible bird, it ate the creepy green vines, and now we have access to the blocked off areas. The music cuts off as soon as we walk into the room on the right. It's a narrow hallway with just an old pot and a note that reads, "The skulls seal the water." The next room has a group of small skulls with their heads facing in different directions. There's a lever at the top, but pulling it won't do anything. There are 4 empty spots, but we at least have one of the skulls. So now it's a quest of finding the lost skulls and solving this puzzle. Lucky for us, one of the skulls is inside that old pot. The game doesn't give us any hints on where the other skulls are. You just have to be curious and inspect everything. You can find a skull underneath the small table next to the large bed in the yellow flower room. Mysterious bloodstains will appear on the lamp and wall when you take the skull. A warning, perhaps. The last skull will be in the other room we couldn't access before we freed the bird. When you interact with the green vines, it will say, "The plants have been eaten away by something." I like how you can see the invisible bird flying around. Once again, the music cuts off, and there's a 15-second timer on the top right. The sign ahead of us says, "Poison fills the halls. Pass with colorless shoes." If you're that curious to just walk through the hallway, Viola will immediately be consumed by the poison and die. I mean, are you really that surprised? Even though we can't move forward, there are things we can interact with. To the right, there's an empty bottle we can take sitting on a shelf, and the last skull is hiding in one of the dressers. We have to be quick when exploring this area and be mindful of the timer. The longer you stay, the pinker the room gets due to the poisonous air. If the time runs out, Viola will completely evaporate and it's game over. There's also an open book we can read called The Skull Soldier. Thankfully, the timer pauses while we read the story. There once was a soldier. Unbeknownst to him, his country had already perished, and so had he. Even in death, the soldier patrolled. Starting in the center of the castle ruins, he looked forward, right, left, forward, right, left. As you can tell, this is related to the skull puzzle. Now that we have all 4 skulls, we can sort them and finish the pattern. Starting from the center, it goes forward, right, left, making a spiral shape. In the remake, I like that the story highlights the word center, indicating that we need to look at the center skull and go from there. I mean, the text didn't change from the original, but I think we tend to forget the details when trying to solve these puzzles, at least for me. Okay, so forward, forward, right, and left. And when Viola pulls the lever, we can see water flowing through the other room. Amazing. Now it feels like we're getting somewhere. Now we can be on our merry way and... Oh my god, a giant skull. We gotta run. Oh shit, this thing is fast. Okay, we gotta save. Did that chair just move? Oh, Cat, you wouldn't believe the things I've seen. Let's go to the other room and fill our water bottle, because that's what it seems like we'd use it for. if you look closely, there's a small group of tadpoles Viola can interact with. My dad is dead. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. A snake ate him. You killed him. Oh no, Froggy. He was a lost frog searching for his home, and we found his kids and they're mad. I mean, they have every right to be. So don't interact with the tadpoles. Instead, take out the durable glass bottle and fill it up with water. Also, put in the flower petals inside the bottle because you can, and the bottle begins to glow. Emits a faint light, allows you to walk in the dark, automatic. So I remember being confused by this part when watching it for the first time. Remember the book about the talkative plants? By reading the book, you learn that the white flower petals emit a faint light when touched by water, a detail that a few Let's Players overlooked. Not that I blame them. There's a lot going on this floor, and it's easy to forget the hints and details you encountered, especially when your goal is to be entertaining while playing these games. And by this point in the game, you're probably so frazzled by all the jump scares and chase sequences you've had to face, so you're just trying to push on through. That's a common thing I've seen with the Witch's House Let's Plays.
You may be wondering, what are we supposed to do with the glowing bottle? Well, remember that room we couldn't explore because it was too dark? According to the bloody message in between the jail cells, there's something hidden in the darkness that we need to find. Now that we have a source of light, we can enter the room. To go on another quick tangent, one of the little things I love about the Witch's House is that each and every room has some sort of significance to it. They're not just placing extra rooms to try to make the game potentially longer or to confuse the player. There's always either a puzzle to solve, an item to collect, a piece of lore to read, hints that guide you to the next floor, or a spot to save. I think it's very smart level design, and the rooms are still aesthetically pleasing and match up to the theme of the Witch's House. Anyway, it is completely silent as we enter the dark room. In my opinion, this is one of the most nerve-wracking parts in the game. It's dark, there's no music, we have no idea who or what lurks in this room. It feels like something could jump out and kill us with no moment's notice. Our glowing bottle is our only source of light that can help us navigate the area. This room is basically a maze. Certain pathways lead you to dead ends, and you have to figure out where to find this mysterious item. If we walk all the way to the left, there's a small table we have the option to look under. It's a small wristwatch. I'm not sure what we would need a wristwatch for, but as soon as you open up the menu, you'll realize that something is not right. It's a bloody Viola with dark hair and clothing, shadowy eyes, and an ominous smile. All it says in the description is, die. Can we put this back? No? I guess that's what you get for disturbing the Keeper of Time. It's kind of funny that the clocks seem to be our friend on the 4th floor, but the clocks on the 5th floor are out for vengeance. Okay, so whatever you do, do not pick up the wristwatch. Do not disturb the Keeper of Time. So instead of going all the way to the left, let's navigate south. The best way I can explain navigating the maze area is that your goal is to move downward and then follow the path. There are these rows of creepy statues, the same ones we saw having a dinner party when we were trying to find that pig ring. At some point, the witch's spirit will run past Viola as a way to not only freak out the player, but sort of guide them as well. Now, if you want, you can take a detour and continue to walk further north and see an ancient casket. Open lid? What would possess you to want to do that? Well, if you are just that curious enough to open it, it's empty. The other casket is too heavy to open, which I'm not sure if I should be concerned or thankful for that. At some point, you'll see another row of creepy statues. Wait, did that one just move? Well, maybe it's just my imagination. Now all we can do is go south, and then we'll see all these empty bookshelves to our right. But the last one has an item inside. We got the jade pipe. That's definitely something we can smoke with. A green smoking pipe. This is it. Hello? You were not there before. Let's go back. Oh my god, no, please get away. Now, if you are crazy enough to go back to the caskets, nothing happens. Which, thank goodness, honestly. As we continue to walk back, we hear unwelcoming blood splats. Yeah, I think we got the message. Oh my god, what was that sound? No, it's coming for us. I swear this hallway feels a lot longer. All of a sudden, Viola drops the glass bottle, and it's completely dark. All you can hear is the sound of that statue moving ever closer to you, giving you the urge to rush out as soon as possible. If you open the menu, you'll see that disturbing image of Viola. As you hold down the up key, it feels like it's taking forever for Viola to get out of that dark maze. I don't know if most Witch's House fans know about this. They probably do. But as I was recording gameplay footage for this section, a random idea occurred to me. What if I tried to read Viola's letter after she dropped the bottle? Of course, most people's priority would be to get out of that room as fast as possible, since we're being stalked by a creepy statue. But if you're curious to see what happens like I was, the text obviously doesn't appear because it's so dark and you can't see. But still, it's amazing that Fumi thought of that, and it honestly gave me chills when I tried it the first time. Again, in all of my 10 years of playing this game, I never thought to do that until now. So I just love coming across these neat little discoveries. It is the closest I will ever get to playing this game for the first time again. And I cannot gush enough over the amazing attention to detail. Also, did you know you could just stand there indefinitely and you won't be killed? But why would you want to stand there? This place is creepy as hell. If you are masochistic enough to approach the dark maze, you get this jump scare. I like how disorienting this scene is in the remake, but the door is locked and we can never enter that room again. Probably for the best. We have the jade pipe in our inventory, and it can finally be smoked. We toss the jade pipe to the mysterious man, and he quietly enjoys the medicine. Ah, yes. This is mine. It's mine. The mysterious person vanished into the cell. A sweet scent wafts through the bars. But then, the other cell opens, and you distinctly hear some heels walking in the distance. As Viola walks towards the other cell, a red hand appears. And after I hit it so well, the other cell is unlocked, and we have the option to go inside. The room is quiet and completely dingy. There's a pile of books on the ground, but certain words are covered in grime. The of making pay-ease. I think the title is The Art of Making Pastries. To parents, a sick child. I think this one is to parents with a sick child. And then we have dependence. This could be a stretch, but I think this one could be codependence maybe, or even emotional dependence. Ahead of us is a white cloth with something wrapped inside. We got red shoes. Eerie's shoes dyed completely red. The note on the wall reads, "Let them bleed." Okay, this is new to me. When you interact with the note again, it actually bleeds. Very creepy. Apparently the dresser next to us has a mess of filthy sewing materials and broken cookware. Nothing useful for us. We need colorless shoes, so perhaps we can wash the eerie red paint off in the water room. As we leave the cell, we see a headless girl walking away. Another bloody handprint appears with a message that reads, Won't you wear the shoes? Okay, well, I do love a good pair of red heels. It's just a really nice and easy way to make your outfit pop. Let's try them on. I mean, at this point, what did you expect? If you go back to that wall, you'll see the bloody handprint moving erratically. You wore them, you wore them. Sorry. Anyway, interesting fourth wall break. Once we arrive at the water room, we can wash off the eerie red dye to reveal a transparent pair of shoes. Ew. The water turns ominously red. Got glass shoes. Aw, like Cinderella. I wonder how the tadpoles are doing. Dead tadpoles float in the water. Oh my god, we killed an entire family of frogs. But with a clear glass shoes, we can walk on the poison without getting hurt, and can finally move forward. Okay, so here's another moment that can ruin a perfect no-save run. As you run down this hallway, you'll notice the chair erratically shaking, and as soon as you approach the exit, another giant skull appears and you have to run. Most people I've seen will run to the water room, but you could actually run to this room on the right, or even the jail cell, interestingly enough. But definitely be careful around this part because the skull is so fast, and you don't want to be too close to the exit or else it'll automatically crush you. But now that we saved with our friendly black cat, let's navigate the poisonous hall. Once again, we only have 15 seconds in this room, so we better make it quick. As Viola walks north, the house tries to scare us by dropping Viola's dead body as we walk. But that doesn't faze us. But now we're made with a choice. There's not much time to think. If you go to the room on the right, it leads to another poisonous area and it's too late to backtrack. So we take the door to the north of us, but before we leave, the glass shoes shatter into pieces. We're led to another room. Yeah, this is a large floor. You want to talk about the internal plexus of Princess Peach's castle? No, let's talk about the internal plexus of the witch's house. At least our black cat friend is with us. Yo, what do you suppose a friend is? I don't know. I'd like to think you're my friend, Mr. Cat. This room is like an extension of the garden area. I like that the rose petals still flutter to the ground. Artificial roses surround the room, and there's another desk with the witch's diary, giving this room an intimate feel. This entry reads, "I wouldn't ex her, because she would save me from my sickness. So I made her my friend." Now, if you're curious about the poison hallway, the timer is completely gone, and the poison we were walking on is now a pale lilac color, and doesn't kill Viola despite no longer having the colorless shoes. If you go back to where the sign is, the text is completely gone. We also have the ability to run in this area as well, and we can explore the room to the right. There's a light purple fluid flowing down like a waterfall, but it's harmless. I'm guessing that the glass shoes are magic and washed out all the poison. The only things you can interact with is a dusty old dresser with nothing inside and a mysterious-looking item at the bottom right corner of the screen. It's a headless doll. The missing purple doll, to be exact. We definitely need this. Ew, roaches, disgusting. Kill them, Viola. I hate roaches. They freak me out so much. So we have a doll dressed in purple, but with no head. The only thing we can do is go further north and hopefully find the doll's head. Fun fact, this room had a puzzle in the very first version of the game, but ended up being removed even before the remake because it might have been a little confusing. You have to enter a 4-digit password, and your hint was top left, top right, bottom left, bottom right. And we have to interact with each corner of the room to get more hints. Top left, bottom right plus top right corner, bottom right times 666, bottom left corner equals bottom right minus top left, and the bottom right corner is just 6. So anything except for 0 would be too big of a number for bottom left times 666. So the answer to that is 0. 6 plus 0 is 6, which gives us top left. 6 minus 6 is 0, which gives us bottom left. So the answer is 6006. I mean, it's not that hard, but I can see why it got removed. But as we move forward, we're brought to this dark room with 2 rows full of cabinets. There's 2 dark stained glass windows that are blocking out any form of light, and all we can hear is the sound of the ticking clock that hangs high on the wall. There are no other doors. It seems like this is the last room on this floor. The lack of light makes it seem like this room is purposely tucked away, and we're not supposed to be here. When we first get to the room, you see the witch interacting with a specific cabinet. But let's poke around as each cabinet has various medicines. Bottles filled with some sort of meat, bandages and antiseptic solution, bottles filled with bones of some sort. Something nausea. Some of the letters are etched off. Throat, something medicine. More bandages and antiseptic solution. Something gree, burn, and probably degree burn ointment. Tourniquet, probably tourniquet, which is used to stop excessive bleeding. Interesting. Sleeping pills and sedatives. Eye drops. Hello? I'm gonna pretend I didn't see that. More eye drops, those are probably eye drops, and headache medicine. The witch has mentioned having a horrible illness in her diary. But let's go to that one where the witch was. There's a small bottle on the shelf. We got a cute little bottle. Interacting with the shelf again will say, medicine to kill me. Weird. The inventory description reads, medicine that wilts the witch's roses. Smells sweet. Oh, this is it. This is the ultimate item we need to get out of here. What was that? The stained glass window shattered. It's pitch black outside. A doll head lays on the ground. Okay, I won't question it. We need that doll head. So let's go. Oh my god, eyeballs. Okay, we gotta be quick. Let's go. Whoa. The grass and leaves are dyed completely red, and there's no music, and our cat is gone, leaving behind a little fur on the stump. Okay, can you imagine if you went all this way without saving and you got smushed by the eyeballs? That would suck. Thankfully, that has not happened to me, and I hope it never will. But if you want to be stupid, you can go back and interact with that door. The eyeballs will come out and squish you. So the only thing we can do is go back south. And everything here is red. But hey, at least the cat is safe and we can still save. We can do some poking around too. If we go to the yellow flower room, we can hear a munching sound. The yellow flowers are completely inanimate. They've been sliced to bits. The cups and plates are empty. The clock is munching on the flowers. We still have the option to touch it. Oh, wow, we're not dead. One thing that's kind of creepy and gross is if you decide to lay in bed, blood appears. Ugh, you know, I hate when I'm on my period and that happens. At least the bed is still comfy. If we go to the room on the right, we can see the 2 jail cells are covered in blood. Mother abandoned me. Father ignored me. All the red grasses are hung, but one of them falls to the ground when you interact with them. Nothing new in the water room. The dead tadpoles are still dead. If we go in here, we'll find... Oh, never mind. Don't go to that room. That's about all you can really do here. Now that we have the doll head, we can combine it with its body to get the purple doll. The doll head's description reads, its inorganic eyes stare at you. Creepy. Now we just have a doll in purple assembled from a head and a body. Once we put it on the purple stand, the red doll moves, opening up a hole for us. So, in my 10 years of playing this game, I never really thought to interact with these dolls. But when I was recording gameplay footage for this video and making sure that I'm capturing as many details as I can, I learned that the description changes for the red doll after it moves. The doll in red watches attentively. Like the lady with her parasol in floor 2, I felt a little chill in my heart when I discovered this minor change for the first time. Reading that the other dolls were silently smiling also gave me the creeps too. This game's writing is just so effective. We now have the option to descent. But before you do that, did you know you could go back and revisit previous floors? Yeah, you could go all the way back down to the first floor if you wanted to. Thankfully, the music plays again on the first floor. But yeah, it's pretty cool that you could go this far back without being killed. No major changes really happen, but if you've taken the time to read all the diary entries, you could go back to the library and more books will appear about the witch's house. There are 7 books in total. Keys do not open doors in the witch's house. Something else must serve as key. The witch's magic can make the house change form. The witch's house devours humans and offers their souls up to a demon. The witch's house has a will of its own. Its residents are the remnants of souls fed to the demon, and thus lack any will. When the witch's flowers wilt, the witch dies. The witch's house is magic, granted to a witch by a demon. And the witch's house 7 reads, once the witch shows herself, the house returns to its normal form. You know, I find it interesting. We've gone through this entire ordeal, but we still don't really know much about the witch. You can also go back to the Black Cat, and he has some final words for you. Just so you know, I don't particularly care if you get out of here, or if the house eats you alive. Either one's fine by me, yeah? So, I'm willing to let you escape. So, hey, don't die on me. So, you do care? Like, at least a little? Well, whatever. Once you feel ready, you can make your descent. We make our descent and walk through a dark hall with stains of blood on the ground, and we see a door with a note ahead of us. Come to my room. The same note we found when we first entered the house. As we venture forward, we walk up another flight of stairs and find ourselves in another hallway. But this time it's bright, and you can see light reflecting from the windows. There are portraits of pink flowers neatly placed throughout the walls, and vases of roses on each side table. It looks very nice and elegant. As we reach the end of the hallway, we see the corpse of the cat. Our cat. What happened to him? One gross but humorous detail is that the cat's body turns into mush if you keep walking back and forth on it. You know what? That's what you get for saying you don't care if I survive or not. After we've had our fun doing something so unthinkable and disgusting, we can enter the witch's room. Are you ready? Just know that once you enter, you cannot leave. The witch's room is much darker than the hallway, with a single window bringing in a little bit of light. I'm sure the first thing you notice is the bed with a massive bloodstain. Next to it is a toppled chair and a spilled cup. It looked like some sort of altercation happened. Even if the focus is on the bloodstained bed, there are other pieces of furniture in this room that Viola can interact with. There are 2 dressers that are packed tight with cute outfits, ribbons, and accessories, a small bookshelf with books about magic spells, and a vanity mirror that doesn't seem to show any reflection. And at the top right, we see a desk with the witch's diary. It looks like a normal room. Well, aside from the giant bloodstain on the bed. Once you've interacted with everything, there's really only one thing left to do. Let's read the witch's diary. This is it. I'm going to die from my sickness. So, I'm going to take her body. I'm going to live on in her body. It's okay, right? Because we're friends. She'll give me her body because we're friends. That's why you came to play with me today. Right, Viola? All of a sudden, the mirror breaks, and we see something approaching Viola. Is that the witch? Is that why she's after us, because we didn't give up our body? Legless girl. The unsettling chase theme continues to play, signifying danger ahead. The save screen pops up for you because this next chase scene might just be one of the most challenging parts of the entire game. Viola must dash through the house as quickly as possible without getting caught by the legless witch. It's a race to the front entrance, Viola must run through the hallway and down the stairs and make her way to the first floor. Holes will open up from below to catch you off guard, and even the chairs in the dining room will purposely get in Viola's way. It's crazy. You have to be quick, but also precise. One wrong misstep and then the witch catches you. Despite being legless and blind, this girl is fast. I mean, that's the witch, but what the hell happened to her? Why is she like this? There's no time to really think about it or ask questions. We gotta go. Past the hallway, run down the stairs, leave the kitchen, run to the door on the bottom left since the other one's locked. We're so close. Be careful and avoid that hole. We're at the entrance. Home stretch, baby. Finally, we've escaped. We're free. Now let's get out of here. If you're curious enough to see if you can go back inside, it will say that the door is firmly shut. Good. If you look closely, you'll see a piece of paper on the ground. It's the first half of the letter Viola's dad wrote. Dear Viola, I'm sorry for yelling at you yesterday. There's an old legend that says a witch lives near a forest and kidnaps children who get lost there. Your friend's house is very near the forest, so I was worried about you. Your friend's name is Ellen, right? Well, and then it cuts off. In case you forgot, the letter we have in our pocket says, I don't mind if you go out to play, but don't go too deep into the forest. Hope to see you home soon, Dad. That's actually really sweet. And it makes me feel bad. Viola's poor father must be worried sick. Not much else has changed, but miraculously the sign becomes legible, and we find out that the witch's name is Ellen, our so-called friend. One disturbing detail with little to no explanation is if you check back on the house, you'll see that it's covered in blood. The game doesn't give you any additional commentary when you try to interact with it. There's nothing left for us here. We're right back where we started, in front of the witch's roses. But with the cute little bottle we snagged, we can kill the witch's roses and be free. I love games like this where the end brings you back to the beginning. Viola pours the mysterious liquid. It begins to rain as Viola walks further away from that haunting house. She's finally free, and she can return home to her dad. And there he is. The poor man was searching the entire forest for his daughter, but now they're reunited. They can go back home and out of the rain. Just when you thought you were free, how did the witch escape? It's a good thing that our dad is here with his shotgun. We have nothing to fear. The witch mysteriously fades away. No other words or questions are exchanged. There doesn't need to be. Viola and her father are finally together, and they continue to walk back home as the credits play. And the music is just so calming and joyful. I feel like it suits the ending really well. We did it. Wow. What a beautiful game and cute little ending. That was a wild experience too. Murderous teddy bear, crazy chef, giant spider, demonic painting lady, giant skulls, evil red shoes. Viola's been through so much, but after finishing the game, there are still some unanswered questions lingering in the air. How did Viola come into contact with Ellen? How did she know about the house in the middle of the woods? Why was Ellen trying to kill Viola? Why did the black cat die? Huh. End? What's that supposed to mean? Well, there is one thing that we didn't do. Remember that cabinet from the first floor? There was that message. Open when the house returns to normal. We have to run over there as the witch chases us to get something. Not only do we have to avoid the witch while we're running to the first floor entryway, we have to proceed to the right and run up the hallway and back, making the chase scene that much harder. One detail that gets overlooked is the minor decoration changes in comparison to the beginning of the game. Instead of the desk with the witch's diary, there's a bookshelf with knickknacks on top of it, a small end table with an unlit lamp on top, and another small end table with a vase full of artificial flowers. The wallpaper is also different, signifying that the house is truly back to normal. The cabinet appears to be different as well. It looks like a wooden cabinet instead of a steel one, but that may be due to the lighting. In fact, the study isn't the only room that has additional decorations. If you go into the bears in the basket room, you'll see that it's decked out with furniture. Of course, doing this will result in a game over, as the witch will catch you. It's too bad we're having to run for our lives in the dark, because I'm sure this would be a nice spot to hang out in while sipping tea and reading a book. Even the kitchen has a nice rug placed on the floor, and another vase of flowers. As we rush to the cabinet, we get an item called Ellen's knife. So we got the thing. Now we have to hurry back to the entrance without dying, which is easier said than done. The legless girl is fast. She is out for vengeance, and you don't have much time to think, you just gotta go. But after reaching the entrance, we can breathe a sigh of relief for successfully escaping the witch's house again. We can pull up the menu and take a look at the knife's description, which reads, "A small knife." Interesting. Aside from that, nothing seems different so far. So we pour the liquid and we're finally free. We should be expecting Viola's dad soon. Or not. Oh, this is different. Just give it up already. Wow, this is the first time we see Viola speak in the game. She stabs the witch with the pocket knife she got. "How long are you going to chase me? You know you're almost dead." The witch continues to struggle and says, "Give back." But now that we're free and can defend ourselves, we finally have the upper hand. Give it back? No way. I don't feel any pain in this body. Besides, you're the one who gave it to me. Why should I have to give it back? Right, Viola? This is the moment that changes everything. Exploring the house for the first time, we knew there was some sort of mystery we needed to solve. But it turns out the answer was in front of us all this time. You felt so sorry for me. I couldn't even move from my bed. That's why I used my magic to trade bodies with you. Just for a day? Maybe I did promise that. I was surprised you managed to trap me in there, but to no avail. After all, it's my house. Why would it ever kill me? The house guided me the entire way to ensure that I would escape. Still not dead. I have to applaud your tenacity. Maybe you're too worried about your father to die. Oh, I know all about you and your father, Viola. A close family of two. Those memories stayed in your body. He's a kind man. A hunter, isn't he? And he even sent you that letter. What a good father. So then, I suppose you're worried about what'll happen when you're gone? It'll be just fine. I'll make sure his daughter, Viola, gives him her share of love, and I'll take her share of love too. So just Viola? Viola's father appears and asks who he thinks is Viola, if she's been hurt. Ellen runs to Viola's father, while Viola tries to beg for help. Ellen walks away with a brand new life. And that is the true ending. Of course, one detail that invokes an angry reaction out of players is how Ellen laughs to herself when she walks away and follows Viola's dad. This ending definitely resembles a funny story from Floor 2. The hunter killed the dog without realizing that he didn't do anything wrong. Viola's dad killed her own daughter without realizing that it was actually her. But for me, it's the arm grab. The way Ellen immediately runs to Viola's father and grabs his arm, effectively deceiving him and watching him shoot his own daughter and her so-called friend. If you wait for about a minute, the black cat will pass by and what's left of Ellen's decaying body will mysteriously disappear. Also, the music that plays really resonates with me. It is one of the most haunting and somber tunes I have ever heard. I think it emphasizes the betrayal and deception players feel at that moment. And when I listen to it, it also makes me imagine a situation where you've made a grave mistake and the outcome leads to your death and you don't have any other choice but to accept it. It's as if all 5 stages of grief are represented in this track. According to the Steam interview, the first thing Fumi thought up was the ending, and then built the game from there. I wrote some notes about the house, its traps, the map, and the characters. Afterwards, I started up RPG Maker and started creating the maps and creating/choosing the music. Fumi also revealed that the true ending dialogue is what they struggled with the most when making the witch's house. I spent about a month creating what amounts to a 3-minute scene. When I was first formulating it, I'd prepared a lot of dialogue for Viola, but when I actually put it into the game, it felt too much like she was explaining everything. But if it was too short, the players wouldn't be able to understand it, so it needed a lot of adjustments. This was the only game I had experienced where the twist was you were the villain all this time. I'm sure there are plenty other games that have done this before, but this was such a novel concept for me at the time. It was so clever. Nobody saw it coming the first time around, but when you play it the second time, you realize that the signs were there. Viola's apathetic demeanor, cutting off teddy bear limbs without hesitation, mercilessly feeding a frog to a giant snake, the sinister silhouette you see in the menu after the glass bottle shatters in the dark room. I've read a few comments that headcanon that the happy ending is Viola successfully escaping. Understandably, people want the possibility where the true Viola successfully escaped and got to live the rest of her life. But unfortunately, that is not true. Even if you stuck with the happy ending, it doesn't change past events. Viola is still trapped in Ellen's body, and Viola's father unknowingly kills her. You are still Ellen in Viola's body when you start the game. One thing I found interesting while watching other Let's Players is how they bonded with Viola. Viola doesn't utter a single word until the true ending. And then we find out that we're really Ellen, and immediately we felt disgust with ourselves. But all this time, we were really bonding with Ellen. It's interesting to see how quickly we turn on her as soon as we find out that she's the mastermind behind it all. It's also interesting to see how we made excuses for Ellen when we didn't know that she stole Viola's body. Again, forcing the frog through that window and letting it get eaten by the snake. We didn't have a choice. There was no other way. It's the cruel nature of the house that's to blame, and we can't let ourselves be killed. One thing I've mentioned throughout the video is what chase scenes have ruined my no-save attempts. Well, if you manage to get to Ellen's room without ever interacting with the black cat, you get this special cutscene. Yo, You never asked me for help, even once. I'm kinda disappointed. Although, with the house giving you notes and such to help you get along, maybe that figures. It can always tell who its master is, regardless of what body they're in. Well then, I'm gonna leave one step ahead of you, because I think she's on her way here. And it seems that the magic of the house has gone back to her. Which means the magic's gonna go poof, right? If I stay here, I might get gobbled up with it. No, being incorporeal doesn't necessarily mean we're immortal. Well, that's that. Good luck with the rest, Ellen, my faithful witch. It turns out this was really a dead cat who was possessed by a demon. If you pay attention to this conversation, you'll notice at some point the name will change from Black Cat to Demon. To those who are confused by this, we'll cover more about the demon possessing the Black Cat in the manga. But to summarize, for the demon to interact with Ellen and also provide her with magic, he needed to possess a Black Cat's body, which explains the jute bags of dead cats that you see on the third floor stairway. The no save run is pretty well known across the Witch's House community, although new and casual players won't know about it firsthand unless they decided to look up other endings or interact with the fandom wiki. By the time you're starting a no save run, you already know about the true ending. This interaction provides a little extra context to why things are the way they are. The commentary is also different when you enter the witch's, or Ellen's room, packed tight with my cute outfits, filled with my ribbons and accessories, the bed I used to sleep in. We also get a little insight to Ellen and Viola's history when interacting with the spilled cup and toppled chair. A spilled cup, the same one I gave Viola medicine with. A toppled chair, Viola would sit in this and talk with me. We also learn a little more about Ellen's interests. A vase of roses, I love flowers. Lined with books on magic. Being a powerless human hasn't been so bad. Sounds like she's adjusted to Viola's body quite easily. When you read the last entry of the witch's diary, the chase theme does not play. I think this suggests that not only do we have the knowledge that we're really the witch and have a completely new perspective, I think it also demonstrates that Ellen was never really scared throughout the entire journey. In fact, this might have been a fun game to her. The diary entry is also different. I know she'll say yes, because she's so kind, because she's so trusting. Viola's going to be so surprised when we trade bodies. My body's falling apart. It hurts all over. I've gotten used to it, but she probably can't take it. It might make her cry and scream. So I'll give her medicine. Medicine that will burn her throat to make sure she stays quiet. After all, I don't want to hear my own screaming. I know she'll drink it if I lie and say it will stop the pain. Then I'll escape from this room. I'll be able to feel a gentle breeze wash over me in the garden. It'll be so wonderful. Ah, that's right. Before she gets here, I should gouge my eyes out. I'll cut off my legs too. That way, Viola will be so overcome with despair that she'll have to die. Ah, Viola, my dear friend. So kind, so charming, so loved, and with all that, so foolish. My dear friend. Additionally, your save file will say my room instead of the witch's room, and you'll see that Viola, or rather Ellen in Viola's body, is smiling ever so faintly. Even as Viola appears and chases after you, the infamous jump scare music still doesn't play. All you can hear are the desperate sounds of Viola's hands trying to stop a witch from completely stealing her life away. It's a little chilling and also really sad. Regardless if you decide to get Ellen's knife or not, nothing changes with the two endings. There's also a third ending that many people don't know about. How do you get this mysterious third ending? You do absolutely nothing for about an hour. Don't touch the controller or your keyboard. Just let Ellen sit there for one whole hour. As long as you're doing completely nothing, you'll get some subtle cues that you're on the right track. About 10 to 15 minutes in, the demon cat will be sitting down. Around 50 minutes in, he'll disappear completely, signifying that the witch is close to her death. Once an hour passes, the roses that were blocking our path will fade away. Viola has despaired and died, and Ellen freely walks away in Viola's body without having to do anything. She most likely returns to Viola's father and lives out the rest of Viola's life. I've seen a few people make the argument that this is the cruelest ending because Viola doesn't get a fighting chance to win her body back, while others feel that this ending is the most merciful outcome because you spare Viola from getting shot by her own father. Personally, I feel this ending emphasizes that it really doesn't matter what you do. Viola has lost, and there's no way she'll ever recover her body. When you think about it, how is she supposed to get her body back if Ellen dies in the process? She can't inhabit a body without a head or a body that's been poisoned. But there is so much lore and history between the witch's house, the demon, Ellen, and Viola. In 2018, Fumi's two-part manga called The Diary of Ellen was made widely available for purchase on websites like Amazon. This manga is a prequel to The Witch's House. It goes in full detail of Ellen's upbringing with her parents and how she became the witch of the infamous house we know today. I won't cover the manga in its entirety because I want people to check it out for themselves, but I do want to share some of the highlights of the story and focus on Ellen's relationship with her parents. Hundreds of years ago, Ellen lived with her parents in the slums of a small town. She hardly ever left the house due to her incurable illness and was constantly covered in bandages. But it wasn't always this way. There was a time where Ellen could run through grassy fields and experience the warmth of the sun. But over time, her skin condition worsened and she became bedridden by the age of 7. Since then, Ellen's mother cared for her, changed her bandages, and gave her medication on a daily basis. Ellen's father, on the other hand, never acknowledged her and refused to even look in her direction. Of course, this greatly upsets Ellen, as it would with any little girl who just wanted their father's love and approval. But regardless of her ill condition and how much of an asshole her father was, Ellen was happy because she had her mother. Her mother was the one person that gave her hope, and the thought of losing her horrified Ellen. Despite her father's dismissive behavior, Ellen's mother insists that her dad doesn't hate her and is doing everything he can to support the family. It's just that he's a little shy is all. Of course, Ellen doesn't buy it. Despite Ellen's mom being her only caretaker, she was quite secretive. I wouldn't say she was aloof, but you could tell that there was a wall between her and her daughter. In the beginning of the story, Ellen is peering out the window and she sees a black cat catching a mouse, and this excites Ellen. Looking out the window and yearning for something interesting to happen is the only way she can keep herself entertained. Later in the manga, Ellen spots the same black cat while she's looking out the window, but the cat appears to be dead. Worried for the cat, Ellen walks out of her room despite the pain that it causes her. She manages to leave the house, and she's holding onto the walls to maintain her balance as she slowly walks towards the cat. Unfortunately, Ellen's intuition was right. The cat is dead. So she tries to find a spot for the black cat's final resting place. This is where we really see Ellen's humanity as she gives the dead cat a proper burial. She did have compassion and empathy at one point in time. Ellen completely forgot that her mother would be home around this time. This worries Ellen, because if she was able to run out of the house on her own, maybe her mother would think she isn't as sick as she once thought, and she wouldn't need to take such diligent care of her. Panicked by the possibility of losing her mother, she rushes back to her home as fast as she possibly could. But it's too late. Her mother is already home, sitting at the kitchen table. Ellen tries to explain to her mother that she saw a dead cat and wanted to help it by finding a final resting spot, but she's completely shaken up and worried about her mom's reaction. It doesn't help that her mother is being completely still-faced and not uttering a single word. She changes Ellen's bandages without speaking, and one day, Ellen's mother leaves without a note or a goodbye. This really destroys Ellen. As she feared, she was supposed to look out for herself with no companion or someone to talk to. Despite both feeling the same way over Ellen's mom leaving, her dad still refused to acknowledge his own daughter. But on one fateful day, Ellen's life would change forever. Hearing a loud noise downstairs, Ellen finds her mother all dressed up to the nines and is packing a briefcase full of clothes. It's implied that Ellen's mom is having an affair and is trying to leave her husband. Ellen catches her packing her things, and her mother tries to comfort Ellen and say goodbye. But this only makes Ellen angrier as she believes that her mother no longer loves her. And honestly, she has every right to feel that way, because what kind of mother would abandon her own daughter? Overcome with anger, bitterness, and despair, Ellen grabs a knife and brutally stabs her mother multiple times, effectively killing her. Ellen's father returns home from work and sees his now dead wife on the ground covered in blood. Devastated with grief, Ellen's father cries over his wife's corpse. In an attempt to get him to acknowledge her presence, Ellen admits that she was responsible for killing her mother, but Ellen's father still refused to look at her or acknowledge anything she said. This enrages Ellen, and she stabs her father to death. Throughout the mayhem, her father's jade pipe falls and the house catches on fire, leaving Ellen no choice but to run away. As she reaches the outskirts of the town, she lays on the ground and is completely lost on what to do. All of a sudden, she hears a voice calling out to her. It was a talking black cat, the same black cat she found dead earlier in the story. The cat thanked her for saving his life by providing 2 delicious souls for him to eat. He explains that he would have died had Ellen not killed her parents. Ellen isn't thrilled to hear about that, but the cat tries to cheer her up. As a token of his appreciation, the cat brings Ellen to a house in the middle of the forest, what we know to be the witch's house. The next morning, Ellen looks at herself in the mirror, and she's delighted to find out that all of her injuries are gone, and she's finally free from her sickness. But the cat informs her that she's not supposed to leave the house. Hey, not leaving the house is like a dream come true for a lot of people. While she isn't happy that she can no longer go outside, she doesn't challenge that rule and stays indoors. So Ellen spends her time reading books, learning how to write, and conversing with the spirits of the house, though they don't provide meaningful conversation. And over time, Ellen grows bored and wants to have a friend to play with. This is when the black cat teaches her how to attract people to the witch's house, and she finds a boy her age. Through her magic, she lures the boy to her home, and she finally has a playmate. The two play all sorts of games together, and Ellen is genuinely having fun for the first time in a while. But she learns the hard way of leaving the house when her new friend convinces her to play outside. As soon as she steps out of the house, her magic disappears and she returns to her sickly form. Turns out, leaving the house wasn't a rule, it was a warning. This scares the boy and he runs away. Devastated by this discovery, Ellen learns that she isn't technically cured. The house has magic to preserve her body, but her illness prevails and will get worse over time. Honestly, I can't help but feel bad for Ellen. She just wants to be loved and wasn't able to get that from her own parents. And now she's having to cope with the fact that no one will ever truly love and accept her for who she is. Not something a 7-year-old girl should be experiencing. But the black cat points out that she's a witch now, and is immortal, and teaches her how to get magic for the house. The boy comes back feeling sorry for running away, and thought that Ellen had turned into a monster. Ellen pretends to forgive him and invites him back into the house, and lures him into a familiar room from the game. You know the one. The walls smush him to death, and by offering up the boy, the house eats him, and in return, Ellen receives magic. For the rest of Volume 1, we see Ellen live her immortal life in the witch's house and trap gullible strangers to feed to the demon and the house. I like that the manga also shows the nature of the home and how it transforms based on the witch's mood. For example, Ellen really loved flowers and the outdoors, so she would spend a majority of her time in Floor 5's artificial garden. She also enjoyed reading books and would spend quite a bit of time in the second floor's library. I love that the manga references several of the jump scares and deaths from the original game. We got the giant spider, crushing walls, skulls, and those creepy statues, death by knives. One twisted detail that I enjoyed reading about Ellen is when a pair of siblings or lovers wander into her trap, she'll occasionally let one of the two survive, making them completely grief-stricken and traumatized. Reminds me of another character I know, huh? The demon cat takes notice of this and calls her out for her sadism, but she insists that it's to spread her infamous legacy and attract curious people. One thing that was interesting to learn is that each rose placed in the witch's house represented a victim devoured by the demon. Ellen successfully lured enough people to make a garden of death. It makes me look at the large patch of roses in the beginning of the game differently. When she's blocked by the wall of roses, it seems as if the victims also don't want Ellen to escape. At least, that's how I read it. Volume 2 is about Ellen finding Viola and how the demon cat lured Viola to the house. As we see Viola's introduction, the story switches to her point of view, and we learn about how she wandered in the forest and found Ellen's home. Interestingly, it was the black cat that lured her to the witch's house, and she met Ellen for the first time, who is once again completely bedridden. Viola immediately takes pity on Ellen and wants to be her friend and help her in any way that she can. We get to see Viola bonding with Ellen and becoming her friend, but apparently the feelings aren't mutual on Ellen's side. To her, Viola is a get-out-of-jail-free card and a cure for her illness. At one point, Viola tells Ellen that she loves her and will always be her friend. But at that point, it's revealed that Ellen actually despises her and hates Viola for not having a clue of how much she's actually loved and how, from Ellen's perspective, she can't accept the love that her father gives her. But by then, Ellen knew that she had her way out of her miserable life. Things quickly escalate, and at one point, the black cat guilt trips Viola into switching bodies with Ellen. During Viola's last visit, Ellen is completely bedridden and covered in blood. Just like it was stated in Ellen's diary, she cuts off her legs and gouges her eyes out before switching bodies with Viola. Feeling awful about not being a good enough friend to Ellen, Viola agrees to switch bodies just for one day. Ellen wakes up in her brand new body and is ecstatic to finally be free of her decaying one. Poor Viola is experiencing the worst pain imaginable, and Ellen only makes things worse. She tricks Viola into drinking a liquid that burns her throat, preventing her from screaming. To add insult to injury, Ellen is laughing and prancing around in Viola's body. She truly does not care. She got what she wanted and is now going to ditch the only friend she had. Viola imagines Ellen living on in her body, and this terrifies Viola. She worries about her father and the idea of something bad happening to him and how she is unable to protect him. Despite Ellen's frail condition, there's still magic left within her body. Through her emotions, Viola manages to use Ellen's magic to keep her from escaping. And that brings us to the beginning of the game we know as the witch's house. Ellen wakes up in Viola's body and realizes that she can't escape just yet. I like that the manga briefly references the do-nothing ending, and that either way, this trap is just a minor nuisance for Ellen, and she doesn't have to worry about anything. The illustrations are fantastic and so well done. As a longtime fan of the game, I'm really happy that the Diary of Ellen gives us a look into Ellen's past and how that's shaped her to the cruel but also childish witch that you see in the game. If you love The Witch's House, I highly recommend you give this a read. I bought my copy off of Amazon, links are in the description. So we've talked about the witch's house, each and every floor, the jump scares, the dumb ways to die, its heart-shattering ending. We even covered the Diary of Ellen. But we're not quite finished yet. As referenced throughout the video, a brand new feature was added to the remake, Extra Mode. There's a unique twist to the puzzles, and of course, more ways to die. Quote, "For those who want a punishing experience, let me tell you, Extra Mode puts you through a loop." I won't go through each and every floor in detail, but I will cover the notable changes and my favorite parts. So, certain floors will get a lot more attention than others because that's where the notable changes are. From this point on, I'll use Ellen and Viola interchangeably, but just know when I say Viola, I mean Ellen in Viola's body, unless stated otherwise. Extra Mode basically expects you to already know about the true ending in the normal playthrough. In fact, Extra Mode is playable after you beat normal mode. Of course, you wake up at the same spot, and your objective is to leave the forest by either doing nothing for an hour or doing it the fun way. The game throws a curveball at us because our rusty machete isn't in its usual spot. Do you know where it is, Cat? You looking for something? I don't know. It's probably around here somewhere. The rusty machete is actually inside the log. It's dirty and covered in dead bugs. Gross. Fun fact, the first possible death happens outside of the witch's house. If you use the rusty machete on the large wall of roses, Viola immediately gets killed. That's the game's way of communicating to you that you should know by now that that wasn't going to work. I like how our cat tells us, "Enjoy your stay," before we enter the house. There's a slight change in dialogue if you decide to run out of the house. He says, "Huh? Back so soon?" For the most part, the first floor is the same with a couple of deviations. The hints are purposely more cryptic this time around, with certain words missing from the notes. You still have to read the note in that empty room, except this time the bloodstain is larger. You still have to take the teddy bear and cut off its limbs and place the torso in the basket. But in this version, the teddy bear is much faster and will follow you into the hallway, and you need to run to the room on the top right. If you go to the other room, there will be many baskets of bears that will block you from escaping, and you get crushed. Instead of the witch's diary, it's the story of a sick girl. And you'll notice that these entries align with the Diary of Ellen. Quote, "Long ago, in a poor town, there lived a girl named X, or Ellen. From birth, Ellen's face and legs festered, so she kept them wrapped in bandages. Ellen's father never looked at her, nor did he ever speak to her. Even so, Ellen was happy, because at least Ellen's mother loved her. We still have to get the limbs, but this time we get bloody limbs in the dresser. According to the description, they're a filthy dark red. The poison puzzle also has a bit of a twist to it. The poisonous dish has a silver cover on it, for good reason, because the soup shoots out poison that will immediately kill you. I guess the only thing we can do now is talk to the chef. We can still lend him a hand, but he doesn't want our help. So let's give him the bloody bear limbs. Oh, thank you. But these are so filthy. I'd rather you lend me a hand. Oh god, another chase scene. We gotta run. Oof. Sliced in half. Yeah, much worse than getting your hand chopped off. So you have to rush out of the kitchen and the dining room and go to the sewing area. The other door is locked, and the chef will slice you if you bother trying. All of a sudden the music stops, and all you can hear is the rattling of dishes. Do we dare go back in? Do we really have a choice? Well, thankfully the chef is gone. On top of that, the poisonous dish is exposed, but we don't have our silver key. If you go back and talk to the cat, he says, "Geez, what a racket. I bet he's up to something stupid again, as usual." I like that the demon cat has more to say in extra mode. The death that shocked me the most in extra mode was approaching the kitchen without solving the poison puzzle. If you attempt to go to the kitchen, the chef will open the door and slice you in half. In quite a few of my no-save run attempts, I'd forget about the chef and then immediately get jump scared. We can't go into the kitchen, so where is the silver key? We have to do a little searching around the table. You have to be a little careful and pay attention to the text. To the left of the poison, there's something moving under the chair. Looking inside will get us killed by deadly poison. The chair to the right of the poison says, something's fallen under the table. That's where the silver key is. Drop it in the poison, and now we're free to go. And the chef is gone. Nothing to do in the kitchen, except for looking at the bloody limbs in the sink. Making our way to the next floor, we see Ellen and the cat walking up the stairway. I like that extra mode subtly shows the bond that Ellen and the demon share, both through the apparitions and their interactions when you save. The second floor is mostly similar. There are a couple of extra steps we need to do to save the butterfly. At face value, the deviations may feel like added filler, but there are some really funny interactions you can get if you decide to mess around. So this time there's a ball of yarn in the barrel, but it won't be enough to help tie the books together. The spirit has more than one response if you keep trying to give them the yarn. What am I supposed to do with that? Enough already. Ugh, just give it to a cat or something. Okay, let's give it to our cat. What? For me? I don't need that kind of junk. I can't help but think that Ellen is making a teasing face while she shows the demon cat the ball of yarn. If you try giving it to the spirit a fifth time, they won't even look at you. So this time the piece of rope is in the skull room. There's a portrait of the cat that's chewing on the rope, and we have to make a trade with our ball of yarn to get it. Now we can get the Book of Death. This time, the Book of Death is supposed to be placed in a hidden bookcase, making the skull chase a little more challenging. At least we don't have to look at that lady with her parasol. But surprisingly, the armored statue still doesn't do anything. Some may think it's a missed opportunity, but honestly, I'm thankful. Do you want to read another funny story? That is pretty funny. There's an added fourth wall breaking detail when you come back to the library after getting shot. There's a bloodstain on the carpet, and the chair is rocking back and forth, laughing about how you died. Once we replace the butterfly with the fake, we get chased by the spider, and it is quick and aggressive. Again, these chase scenes are fast. The knives from the long hallway also come at you really quick, and there's more you need to dodge. This section has ended my no save run attempts quite a few times. One little addition I like in extra mode is that the demon will ask if you know who the witch is. I'd hope so. She owns the house that's trying to kill you. Me? I don't know much about her. That's the truth, okay? Yeah, okay. If you answer no, he says, oh, that's right. I guess you don't know a thing, eh? But don't worry, I'm with you. You'd rather I wasn't? Ah, well. Aw, that's cute. The third floor's mirror puzzle has more items to organize, and if you look closely, you can see a spirit at the table on the left side of the room. We have more cakes and utensils we have to set up. Some things are still the same, like organizing the canned sweets, rearranging the paintings. Huh, what's this? You hear the woman in the painting sigh. Ugh, just where has she gone this time? Where has who gone this time? Don't tell me she's gone to see that gloomy woman again. Okay, so the other woman who's supposed to be in this painting is nowhere in this room. And it sounds like she's gone to see someone else. It's the parasol lady that wants us dead. Ugh. Back to the unsettling, creepy music. When you go back to that painting, you'll see the two ladies speaking to each other. Once you speak to them, the other lady will leave her friend and go back to the third floor painting where she belongs. When I played this for the first time, I was anticipating another skull chase, but thankfully nothing happened. At least to my knowledge. If you interact with the portrait again, it says that the woman is glaring at you. You know what? Fuck you. You deserve to be alone. After that unsettling trip to the second floor, we return back to the safety of the third floor and hear that comforting music again. I'm telling you, the second floor's music makes this track feel like a warm hug. So we tear off the note, but we have to do one more thing for the door to unlock. I think the bow that tops off this section is that you have to make Viola sit at the table to complete the puzzle. Through a quick red flash, we see Ellen and the demon cat sitting together. It makes me wonder how many times they'd sit together and what they talked about, if they talked at all. We have another entry of the story of a sick girl. When surrounded by her mother's scent, Ellen could forget all her suffering. However, one day, Ellen's mother stopped loving her. What was Ellen gazing at? Her mother's pretty white shoes, or the glinting craft knife? That was a very cold night. I believe this is the night where Ellen kills her parents and accidentally sets her home on fire, which makes it kind of ironic with it being a cold night. At least I think this is the night she does it. So it's time to go through the long hallway and let nothing distract us, right? The note is extremely cryptic this time around. Oh, hell yeah. We can finally see what all this stuff says. So, fun fact, you could freely explore this hallway in the original version if you didn't read the note. It was kind of a hidden secret that was mainly known by invested fans. But in the remake, they basically give us the option to explore in extra mode. You can talk to the black cat, and he'll ask you if you need his help. What? You're kidding, right? You're out of your mind to refuse my help, lady. The best part is, if you try to interact with the cat again after telling him no, he just looks at you. And the save screen won't pop up in that section. It's as if he's saying, "You said you didn't need my help, so..." There's also another entry we can read. Ellen X'd her mother. If she wouldn't love her, she didn't need her. Ellen X'd her father. If he wouldn't look at her, she didn't need him. Ellen ran away from home. And she met him in the form of a black cat. He told Ellen, "Ellen, I'm giving you a house." There's a book titled Demons and Witches. Demons feed on human souls, but demons are without physical form, so they cannot kill humans directly. Witches offer souls to demons. In return, demons give witches magic. A human who makes a pact with a demon is referred to as a witch. And as we've seen in the Diary of Ellen, that is how Ellen and the demon cat have had this killing operation for centuries. On the table, there's a scrap of paper from a diary. The first part is blank with the exception of quotation marks. When I heard those words, I wanted to snap your thin neck. They were the words I was waiting to hear. But they also made me want to kill. I reached out. Alas, your warm hands caught me. That was the only moment where I could almost forget about putting on an act. This makes me think that the friendship between Viola and Ellen was a little more complicated than a witch plotting to steal an innocent girl's life away. Despite Ellen hating Viola, I can't help but think she enjoyed having her around to an extent. I also think Viola was the one person that was able to fill that void and the loneliness Ellen had felt for so long. I'm glad that Extra Mode gives us a chance to explore this hallway and give us a peek into Ellen's life. On to the froggy sacrifice. We know what we gotta do. The frog is reluctant. Too bad. In you go, buddy. Wait, what? No, you're not supposed to do that. We can't get it out. What are we supposed to do now? We can't have the snake kill us. Well. Remember the stuffed frog you couldn't take with you in normal mode? Well, it turns out we can take it with us this time. You can show it to the frog to try to lure it out, but he won't even look. So, I guess we'll feed it to the snake. I mean, I don't know if this is gonna solve anything. Could we really have done this all this time and Fumi was just trolling us? The snake is angry. Oh. Ah, I see. Now we have our frog back. He won't look you in the eye now. That is so devastating. Yeah, this stings even more. In all seriousness, the guilt tripping is significantly stronger in extra mode. With every additional step you have to take to get the frog back, it honestly makes me feel more remorse. And sure, it didn't take that much time to get him back, but the trust, the bond, is completely shattered. And if you decide to go to another room and pet the frog, he's still incredibly frightened and still won't look you in the eye. And as I was editing the footage, I realized there's a slight change in extra mode when you successfully put the frog through the window. In normal mode, Viola, or really Ellen, walks away from the door and waits a few seconds as the snake eats the frog. But in extra mode, she stays in place and watches it happen from a distance. Who knows why that is? Maybe she finds it amusing, or she wants to have assurance that the frog reaches a snake so she can leave and not get killed. Very interesting change. Honestly, I don't really know what to think. I just feel sick the more I think about it. I think the reason this is so visceral to me is because I have a pet rabbit, which is a prey animal and is something that snakes do eat. And the thought of having to sacrifice her just so I could survive shatters me. I couldn't do it. I wouldn't be able to live with myself. I would die for my bunny. So I have to force myself not to think about it and tell myself it's just a game. But we know what we have to do. Goodbye, Froggy. I'm going to hell. Alright, let's just do this next puzzle. What the fuck? My favorite puzzle has to be the fourth floor's eyeball puzzle. This expands upon the eye color studies from the original mode. Instead of figuring out which lady has the blue eyes, we have to return 4 sets of eyeballs to 4 eyeless women. The demon painting lady is missing her eyes, as well as the head of the silver-haired lady sitting by the table. The eyeless red-haired lady adorns the gorgeous vase in the piano room, and the mirror shows Viola without her eyes. If we remember the text from the eye studies, their eye colors depend on the color of their hair. The 4 hair colors are silver, black, gold, and red. The 4 eye colors are brown, green, blue, and red. Silver-haired women have red eyes, and brown-eyed women can either have blonde or red hair. And from normal mode, we know that women with black hair have blue eyes. There's a note in the bookshelf that guides us where we need to go find the missing eyes. 4 women had their eyes taken. They were placed in the following locations. The red eyes are in the unseen one. The blue eyes are in something rotten. The green eyes are X, it's smeared out. And the brown eyes are in the red box, which is referring to the Jack-in-the-Box in the study. While we're there, let's read the next entry of The Story of a Sick Girl. And so, Ellen became a witch. Strange creatures dwelled in the witch's house. She enjoyed talking with them, but they could not warm Ellen's heart because they lacked human hearts. One day, Ellen made him a request. I want a human friend. In his black cat form, he assented. However, a cliffhanger. I feel like this is the point of the story where Ellen still had some humanity in her. The pair of brown eyes is sitting in red liquid, and apparently it emits a faint glow. The brown eyes are supposed to go to the red-haired lady, but if you wanted to fool around and see what would happen if you held up the brown eyes to the mirror, you would get attacked by the reflection and die. Damn, Fumi thought of everything. Once you place the brown eyes into the redhead, she spits out a soldier key, a small turnkey with the soldier engraved on the end. But we're not able to give it to the soldier because we currently can't see an opening to use the key. Since the portrait room is locked, the only other place we can use the key is the music box. Don't shoot me. Thank you. Now that the soldier has moved, we can see a small hole in the back. That's where the soldier key is supposed to go. You wind to the left for the toy soldier to switch directions. Winding right causes him to shoot. And our target is the door on the right since we can't open it. I could have sworn I've seen a clip where the toy soldier can kill you if you make him shoot in all directions, but I wasn't able to get that to happen. Yikes, that's unsafe. Did you really have to shoot 4 times? Yeah, for the extra dialogue. So now we have access to the next room, and the hint told us that the blue eyes will be in something rotten. But it isn't so simple. The last rotten head we inspect has a note telling us to look below an unlit light. Then we have to go to this white receptacle here, then to the piano, and finally back to the rotten pumpkin head to get the blue eyes and to place them in the black-haired lady's portrait. Her gaze is fixed to the other side of the room, and blue eyes still see the score. Okay, is the painting lady gonna come alive and kill me? Nope, it's the toy soldier. Oh god, that thing can run. You have to quickly loop around the table, leave the room, and head north to the piano room to evade the toy soldier. Stay as far away from the mushed up pumpkins as possible, because stepping on them will slow you down and you will die. This guy has ended my no-save attempts countless times. It can be very demoralizing because at this point, I'm 20 minutes into the game and getting close to finishing. Personally, I think this is the hardest obstacle in extra mode. So this next part might be confusing. When you look at your inventory, you realize that you never actually grabbed the sheet music. But when you come back to pick it up in the portrait room, it's completely gone. There's a visible crack on the wall where the paper used to be, and it gives you the option to look inside. Apparently, it goes deep and the air smells damp and foul. If you try to reach in there, you don't feel anything. Playing this for the first time, you're probably racking your brain trying to think of how to get the sheet music back. Like, do you need to somehow lure the toy soldier into shooting the wall? Are there any other cracks on the wall we can peer through? It's the snake, that slimy so-and-so. So we have to go back down to the snake room. Come on, man, we just fed you a frog. A large crack in the wall. The ground is wet and smells of blood. But there's a small gap Viola can slip into. Let's go ahead and enter. Ugh, this room looks nasty. There are cracks on the wall that are connected to the 4th floor portrait room. That explains why Viola gets sucked into the wall when she picks the wrong painting. Somehow the snake can pull her in. That is one strong snake. We actually have the option to peer through the small openings. In the darkness, you made eye contact with blue eyes. Ugh, that's so awkward. Don't you hate it when that happens? You make random eye contact with a stranger and then you have to immediately look away. But, the stranger is this demonic painting lady that's gonna kill you. There are skulls and bones on the ground and that sheet of paper. Okay, now we have the sheet music. It still has no notes on it, but this time it's a little damp and probably smells really bad. Okay, run. Looks like the next step is to make music with the piano. But what does that have to do with the eye studies? I kinda like that we have to go back to previous floors to solve the puzzle. I feel like Extra Mode also answers questions from all the Let's Plays in the past, like how many of us wondered why Viola couldn't just take the stuffed frog, or wondering where the snake went. It's pretty cool that Extra Mode answers those kind of questions. Alright, let's go ahead and put the sheet music on the piano. Okay, I like that the redhead smiles and giggles at the piano eating you alive. Creepy, but that's a nice little detail. When you stand for a moment listening to the beautiful music, you'll start to see shadows appear on a few of the chairs. Feels like there's someone sitting here. Someone is offering you something. It's the unseen one from the hint. By accepting their offer, we get the red eyes. This goes to the silver-haired lady's head, and the locked door ahead of us automatically opens. There's a portrait of a man and a woman. The man has light purple hair, while the woman has light brown hair. This is Ellen's father and mother. If you pay close attention, you'll also see Ellen the witch reading the note on the wall. We get quizzed on our knowledge of Ellen. The note says, "Answer my questions." We nod our head yes. If you shake your head no, nothing will happen. Surprisingly, nothing will happen if you answer incorrectly either. Who tried to abandon blank? Or Ellen? Ellen's mother. Who didn't look at Ellen? Her father. Who loved Ellen? Her mother. Who X'd, or rather, who did Ellen kill? Slash marks appear for both portraits. Who brought Ellen here? I like this little twist. As soon as you approach the door, the black cat greets you and says, "Me, right?" My last question. Who am I asking you these questions? The house's will. Something falls out of the mother's portrait. It's a pair of green eyes, the final pair we need to progress. You see a faint green glow. And we know exactly where the eyes need to go. One thing I wanted to point out is that you can keep interacting with the mother's painting until it's completely bloody. Interestingly, nothing happens with the dad. I feel like this means that Ellen may feel indifferent about her father, but she still seems deeply affected by her mother's abandonment and still holds resentment all these centuries later. Returning back to Viola's eyeless reflection, we hold up the green eyes and Viola's reflection disappears from the mirror. And with that, we solve the eye puzzle and can move forward. Interestingly enough, the redhead is gone and is now back to that gorgeous vase with flowers. In fact, the entire floor goes back to normal, and we can even see all 4 portrait ladies and the jack-in-the-box. Of course, the next thing we need to do is recover the pig ring. Funny enough, the game doesn't even give us the option to pry the door open this time around. Our head immediately gets ripped off. So we're back to the first floor, and it's a dinner party that we cannot leave or else we die. Ouch. So it's the same deal. We have to stop the fire, take the lid off, and go into the skeleton room. But instead of the golden chopsticks, we find a spirit sitting there. Someone is coming from down the stairs. Oh my god, it's the chef! We only have 5 seconds to hide. So, Viola has to hide in a pile of rotting skeletons while she waits out the savage killer chef as he brutally stabs the screaming spirit. If you listen closely, the chef will eventually leave and close the door. And that's your cue to get out. Of course, it's the same thing as normal mode. Use the golden chopsticks to get the nasty pig ring, and remember to place the chopsticks back in the skeleton's ribs. After leaving the skeleton room, you'll see the cat sitting on the table. He says, "Yeah, I'm here. Ain't I just the nicest?" Well, that's because you have to loop a certain way back to the chimney before the timer runs out. So, yes, thank you, cat, I appreciate it. A bunch of holes open up to the left, so we have to run south, then hop on the table, and do our best to get to the chimney. Run out of time, and a bunch of coal will drop down, preventing you from climbing back up, and the chef brutally slices you in half. Yeah, this can easily put an end to your no-save run if you make any missteps. I will say, it's not impossible, you just really have to know the path ahead of time. There's quite a bit of memorizing you have to do for a perfect run on extra mode. Anyway, here's your smelly ring, lady. Before we progress, we do have another entry of a story of a sick girl. The last one ended on a cliffhanger. Ellen made him a request. I want a human friend. In his black cat form, he assented. However, Ellen didn't see it. She didn't see the hideously evil smile that crept on his face. The following pages are all torn up. The black cat comes off as a lot more sinister in these stories, which is fascinating to me because you don't really feel that through their interactions in the game. And I'd go as far as to say that you don't feel that in the manga until you see him confront Viola. I think it's a good reminder that despite his cute, cuddly form, he is still a demon, and this was a transactional partnership that Ellen didn't really have the choice to decline in the beginning. The 5th floor deviates quite a bit from the original. This time, all the flowers are human girls. The yellow flowers look like Viola, but with yellow hair, which might be symbolic of something. The dark maze room is completely gone, which might be a relief to many people. We still have to get medicine from the yellow flowers, and also wash off the red dye from the shoes, but the journey to get there is much different. In fact, some steps are a little out of order. For example, you can access the skull room, and the 4 skulls are already in place for you to turn on the water. You still have to avoid the skull. Oh god. Okay, that's pretty funny. Most of my favorite extra mode deaths happen on the 5th floor, one of them being how you can just run and jump into the abyss. It's so random, and most people don't mean to do it the first time playing. So, we know the ultimate goal is to kill the beautiful flower so we can get the pollen, but this time, none of the methods shared by the red grasses are useful, so we have to find another way. Additionally, the elder tree is bothered by the unbearable racket that the Keeper of Time is making and wants someone to shut it up. His words, not mine. This time the hint says, water can seal time, and you have to pour water on the grandfather clock so it could be silent. Speaking to the red grass girlies, we'll get this bowl to appear. You can't miss it because you'll see a freaky giant skull sitting on the chair. It's a small container whittled out of bone. We fill the bone bowl with water and we can splash it on the grandfather clock. Make sure to immediately step out of the way so he doesn't fall on you. Once you go back to speak with the elder tree, he'll relax and drop a tree branch. You can use this tree branch to reach the green candle stuck to the tall, creepy vines. I know this all feels pretty random, but stick with me. There just so happens to be a lit candle by the comfy bed in the yellow flower room. One of the girls doesn't want us to take this candle, and it's funny how far you can have this back and forth with her until she straight up kills you. I mean, to be fair, she gave us plenty of warnings. Attempting to pour water on the candle with the bone bowl will also get you killed. It's pretty creepy how she immediately appears behind you. With the green candle, we can transfer the flame. But what are we supposed to do with it? Well, this time, the bird cage has thick rope keeping it shut. We can burn down the rope and open the bird cage, but the invisible bird seems content in there and won't fly out. You actually get pecked if you try to reach for it. But remember that birds eat greenery, and if you show it the candle, it will eat it and fly away. Now you have access to the poison room. Of course, we still need invisible shoes to cross through, but we can at least get the glass bottle. One of the extra mode changes that stood out to me the most was this story right here. Instead of the patrolling soldier, we get the tale of the vengeful soldier. There once was a soldier. The soldier had made plans for marriage back home, but was kept away by a prolonged war. Upon finally returning home, the soldier's betrothed was nowhere to be found, and neither was their money. The soldier's fiancé had run off with it to marry another. The soldier flew into a rage. The soldier soon located the traitor and tossed out a glass bottle full of poison. The violet-colored water splashed all over the fiancé, who screamed from the burning pain. The fiancé's body melted into pieces and perished. Hearing the screams, a woman came running out and yelled, "What have you done to my husband?" Sorry, I had to make it dramatic at the end. So, the game makes it obvious that we have to spill the poison on the beautiful flower child. But I have some questions. Well, maybe not questions, but I noticed they keep the soldier's gender ambiguous. I was a little confused at first, but it sounds like they were engaged to another man, because another woman comes out screaming that they killed her husband. I mean, I guess that detail doesn't really matter. I just found it intriguing. Either way, it's pretty messed up. But does make for good fanfic material. I'll have to remember that one. I like the sound effect you hear when you fill up the empty bottle with poison. It actually sounds like you're scooping up something nasty. But now we have a bottle containing violet-colored water. With a scream, the beautiful flower expires, and we leave the glass bottle behind. Now that's mean. Oh, that's not mean. That's straight up evil. Poor girl was hated for being beautiful. I'd like to believe this one-sided hatred between the yellow flowers and the white flower is an analogy for Ellen and Viola's relationship. To me, the beautiful flower represents Viola. She's clearly beautiful, kind, and innocent. And while the yellow flowers may look the most like Viola, their personality seems to match Ellen's. They seem fun to be around, but they're clearly bitter and envious of the other flower and want her gone. When you share the news that you killed the beautiful flower, they laugh their little mean girl laugh. But then they say this, pollen? Maybe we did promise that. And maybe not. Just kidding. Here you are. Sort of similar to how Ellen said, just for a day. Maybe I did promise that. Before we forget, we have another entry to read. The story of a blank. Everything is in red text. Ellen found out. He was a demon, and she would be a witch forever. After living for several centuries as a witch, Ellen was no longer a sick girl. As of now, the only name fit for her was Ellen the Witch. This is the point of the story where Ellen fulfills her duties as the witch and lures countless people in to feed the house. Once we give up the pollen, the other door opens and we can grab the red shoes. Ellen and her mother quickly flash on screen, and the white cloth is now a blood red. I'm pretty sure this flashback was when Ellen killed her mother. Since as long as I could remember, there's been a theory in the Witch's House community that the people in these two cells represent Ellen's mother and father. When you go back to the cells when the garden turns red, you'll see "Mother abandoned me" and "Father ignored me" written on the text. The jade pipe belonged to Ellen's dad, and the way you hear the sound of someone in heels walking away seems to symbolize Ellen's mom abandoning her without a word. The manga and extra mode pretty much confirm this to be true. You see that brief flashback of Ellen stabbing her mom, and then in the manga, there's this moment where Ellen interacts with these two cells when she thinks she sees the spirits of her parents. It's pretty neat that we get that confirmation all these years later. So from here, the game is mostly similar to normal mode. We wash off the red dye, avoid the skull, and then walk through the poison hall to get the cute little bottle. The poison hall is much harder to navigate, and you have to really pay attention to the floor pattern. Walking on marked areas will either trigger spikes to impale Viola or have her fall to her death. Stepping over her red clone will also slow her down, causing you to run out of time and evaporate. I have to say, it feels like the floor placement changes up on you if you die multiple times. I don't know, maybe it's just my nerves because you're just that close to finishing. Honestly, I could see this being a common ender to a no-save run playthrough if you're not careful enough. I've successfully completed a no-save run in extra mode about 3 or 4 times, and thankfully I haven't had the poison hall end my run, but when I was recording gameplay footage for this video, I kept forgetting the correct way to navigate the hall and just kept dying. What's frustrating is that last visible crack at the end, and naturally you want to avoid it, but it turns out you actually want to stick to the center because both the left and the right sides will kill you. But once you get past the poison hall, you're at the home stretch. Yo, what do you suppose a friend is? That's right, I'm asking you. We have our very last entry to read. It's now a story of a witch. Ellen could not die, for she was not human. Ellen did not die, for she never despaired. To Ellen, despair was the scent of her mother, who chose to abandon her. To Ellen, friends were humans who would die for her sake. She hid that sweet-scented bottle deep in the depths of the house. Would it be necessary someday? Only he knew for sure. That sweet-scented bottle is our ticket out of here. It seems like the cute little bottle has the scent of Ellen's mother or the perfume she wore. Given that it's also a representation of Ellen's despair, the liquid is so strong that it kills the wall of roses. Anyway, we know what we gotta do. Grab the cute little bottle, the doll head, and evade all those angry eyeballs. Oh my god, look at them go. So, one of the discoveries I learned recently, despite extra mode being out for a few years, was going back to the eyeball room to see what happens. As you know, in normal mode, when you come back to the door, the eyeballs will barge out and crush you. But in extra mode, the door is completely gone. It's just a wall. You know, I honestly felt a little chill in my spine. This mysterious room doesn't exist anymore. It's like the game's way of telling us, you got what you came for. There's no reason to be here. When you think about it, who knows how Ellen feels about being in this room when it's likely a reminder of her past as a sick girl. And now that she has the very item that will get her out of this place for good, there's simply no reason for that room to exist anymore. At least maybe in Ellen's mind. I don't know. The missing door genuinely surprised me when I discovered it. As you can see in the gameplay footage, this was my reaction, just kind of fidgeting around. Going back to the main area, there are a couple of deaths you can trigger when you return to the garden. Make sure to save, of course. Of course, you can get the skull to drop down on you and kill you. One thing I didn't mention when you rinse off the red shoes is that if you interact with the supposedly dead tadpoles, they pull you down and you die. Interacting with the candle will set Viola on fire. And as I was editing this video, I noticed one of the yellow flower girls sitting there as you're burning alive. I messed around and gotten this death at least a few times, but I didn't see her until editing the video. So I just had to go back and add that in because it's so creepy, but oh so clever. I will say, part of the reason that this video took so long to make is because I would come across specific details for the first time while recording gameplay footage and add that into the script, even though the voiceovers were already recorded. Or randomly, I would get an idea and think, I wonder what would happen if you did this, try it out in the game, and be completely shocked by the result, write down what I learned, and then record and edit the voiceovers for that. Or, in this case, noticing slight details while video editing and feeling the need to update the script and add those extra bits into the video. It's also why my voice sounds different throughout the video, at least to me. I don't know if people notice these things, but most of the voiceovers were recorded in early 2025, and the way I narrate videos has definitely changed since then. And here I am later in the year, mid-December to be exact, recording additional voiceovers for this video, but I love this game so much that I want to share every detail that I adore and those new little discoveries that make me feel like I'm playing the witch's house again for the first time. I want people to see what I see and feel what I feel with this game. So, if you're still here, I greatly appreciate you watching. All that's left is to put the doll together and you can make your way to the witch's room. Fun fact, if you were curious about the dolls, there's a moment in the manga where Ellen hallucinates one of her dolls talking to her about how she's a burden and her mom is going to leave her. It's pretty messed up, but that's the significance of these dolls. Of course, you can go back to speak with the demon and he'll have one final conversation with you. Just so you know, I don't particularly care if you get out of here or if the house eats you alive. Either one is fine by me, yeah? So I'm willing to let you escape. Suddenly, we see Ellen's spirit appear. See? Looks like she feels the same way. So hey, don't die on me. One thing I didn't mention during normal mode because I didn't want to risk spoiling the true ending is that if you go back to the library and check on the funny story, there's a book titled Ellen. She was charmed by a demon. She perceived her sickness as the reason she was not loved. Her only wish was that someone would love her, so she wished for a spell to cure her sickness. What she obtained was a spell to trade bodies. What she found was a girl who was loved. Sometimes these books don't appear for me. I believe reading the diary entries are what trigger them to appear, but I'm honestly not sure. If you complete extra mode without saving, unfortunately the dialogue between you and the demon cat does not change. Just so you have assurance that I'm not faking it, here is footage of Viola in the medicine room. Extra mode has one red eyeball wandering around. I exit the room for the eyeball to reset because it was getting uncomfortably close to me, and I did not want to risk it because I'm so close to the finish line. Listen, the toy soldier has ended my perfect run more times than I can count, so to make it all the way here without saving was a miracle for me. Seriously, I feel like escaping the toy soldier is the hardest part of the no save run because he is so fast. Escaping the dining room is also pretty tricky, and not to say the 5th floor chase sequences aren't challenging, but I do feel that you get past the hardest part once you finish the 4th floor. Also, if you're doing a no save run in extra mode, do not go to these other rooms just to play around because you will likely die and have to start over. And you don't want that. I mean, unless you're a masochist. Let's face it, I probably wouldn't mind starting over. I love this game too much. Alright, here's the dialogue. There isn't a reference to you completing extra mode without saving. Even though this might have been a missed opportunity, I can't really think of any creative ways for the dialogue to change between normal and extra mode. The purpose of extra mode was to learn more about Ellen and the house itself. Additionally, extra mode is already under the assumption that you know this game's story and that the circumstances do not change regardless of which ending you get. After all, you have to beat normal mode before you unlock extra mode. And I would imagine that most people who bought the Witch's House MV have already played the original or watched Let's Plays of it. Once again, you're still Ellen in Viola's body, and there's nothing you can do to change that. However, there is a subtle description change in Ellen's room when you interact with a bookshelf, lined with books on magic. Magic was difficult, but also fun. Aside from that, everything is the same. Only one thing left to do now. Ellen, casually closes the diary because, let's face it, we already know. I like how she does it too, very sassy. The chase scene in extra mode is far more challenging than the original, especially on the PC. The legless girl, or who we now know as Viola, is much faster. On top of that, blood splats will quickly appear on the ground and will slow you down significantly if you run into them. When I first played this, I always died when I reached the kitchen. You have to wait 1 second for the blood splats to appear before you move, otherwise you'll run into it and get caught. No matter how many times I've attempted this, the blood splats always catch me off guard, and it doesn't help that I'm all jittery because I'm trying not to die. But I feel this especially when I try to get the knife. The journey to get Ellen's knife is definitely the most stressful part of the chase. By that point, it's the home stretch, you're so close, and I'm just trying to escape as fast as I can, but I keep forgetting where the bloodstains are going to appear, and then I end up getting caught. This is the punishing experience the game was hinting at. I feel like extra mode really makes you work for the true ending, but regardless if you decide to get the knife or not, extra mode congratulates you for surviving the house. Ellen's spirit, or potentially the spirit of the house, gleefully waves back at Ellen, wishing her well in her new life as Viola. I'm not going to lie, I know that public opinion of Ellen is very low, but I think that little animation is super cute. Well, we know what we gotta do. I will say, if you try to use Ellen's knife on the roses, you don't get killed, surprisingly. That's nice of the game, actually. Now that we know that the cute little bottle has the essence of Ellen's despair, it's interesting to see that Viola, in Ellen's body, is still pushing through. And perhaps at this point she no longer has any magic, but her spirit is persistent and very much alive. The conversation between the two is mostly the same. So then, I suppose you're worried about what'll happen when you're gone? It'll be just fine. I'll make sure his daughter, Viola, gives him her share of love. And I'll take her share of love too. So just die. That's cold. Even the way she smiles just makes me frustrated in Ellen's lack of empathy. Ah, I see. Seeing your own father fail to notice you, that's what finally pushed you over the edge of despair. Wasn't it, Viola? I can't even attempt to laugh. This feels like kicking someone while they're down. But I also can't help but feel that Viola and Ellen sort of mirror each other in a way, and either Ellen fails to see that or she's purposely ignoring it. The main thing they have in common is what makes them despair. For Ellen, it's her mother no longer loving her and leaving her behind. And in this instance, Viola losing her father's love drove her to despair and die. And what's sort of ironic is that Ellen may have this new life, but she still isn't loved for her. Because that love is for Viola, and she's just pretending to be her. She may say that she'll take that share of love, but I can't help but wonder if Ellen will struggle with that reality later down the line. Every time I finish The Witch's House, I can't help but think about Ellen's future and the life she would live now. Even though she's centuries old, she never physically, or perhaps even mentally, grew past 7. Sometimes I wonder if Ellen will ever emotionally mature as she grows up in Viola's body. I often wonder how she would handle her new life after living in the witch's house for so long. It's confirmed that she's lived there for centuries. So how will she adjust to these new changes? How will she interact with other people? Can she continue to fool Viola's father into thinking that it's still the same person? Would she ever feel guilty about what happened? Not only betraying Viola, but killing all those people? I don't personally think so, but I find Ellen's life after the witch's house interesting to think about. I know the general opinion of her character is fairly negative, but I'm quite fascinated by Ellen. Her backstory, general demeanor, and twisted sense of humor makes her such a compelling character to me. Whether you love her or hate her, I think she is a wonderfully written character. The Witch's House emphasizes the cruel reality that bad people get away with doing bad things, and sometimes justice is never served. But unfortunately, that is just how life is. The choices you make can really impact your life for better or for worse. Like I mentioned before, Viola was never meant to get her body back. Even if Ellen, in her new body, managed to die, I think it's implied that Viola would still die in Ellen's body. The game serves as a reminder that being too selfless can put you into a dangerous situation. So remember to be careful with who you trust and follow your gut instincts. It's okay to say no and to look out for yourself. It's one of the things we do to survive. Extra Mode was a really thrilling and enjoyable experience for me. When I played it for the first time, I was quite intimidated by the new puzzles and jump scares. Again, despite the cutesy design, this game still gives me goosebumps. Hats off to Fumi, they know how to provide a good horror experience. One thing I really enjoyed while making this video was trying to perfect my runs as I became more familiar with the puzzles, chase scenes, and jump scares. Despite being in the horror genre, The Witch's House is a huge comfort game to me, and even though I know this game like the back of my hand, I always enjoy coming back to it and wandering around the house. I still enjoy listening to old Let's Plays of the game. I mean, this game captivates me like no other, and there really isn't anything like it. Gorgeous, aesthetically pleasing games have always left an impact on me, but what keeps me coming back to The Witch's House is that sense of whimsy I feel when exploring the house. The sense of comfort I feel when I'm rearranging the objects in the mirror room, or listening to the piano, or hanging out in the garden. Even the sense of satisfaction I feel when I successfully dodge a knife, or skull chase, and solving a puzzle. Or how serene certain tracks make me feel while I play the game. And of course, just how clever this game is with its brilliant execution and ending. Fumi clearly put a lot of love and passion into The Witch's House, and I am just so grateful to be able to experience and enjoy their art. One last snippet of the interview I wanted to share was, what is the best advice you can offer to beginning game developers inspired by The Witch's House? It's hard for me to give advice because I'm not a professional game developer. As far as creative work goes, I think the best solution is always to just create something that you think is fun or interesting. I couldn't agree with you more, Fumi. The Witch's House is a game that has haunted me ever since I first discovered it. I've said this before and I will say it again. I don't think there will ever be another game like The Witch's House. This game is truly, truly one of a kind. The emotional impact this game has had on me is up there with Super Paper Mario, Sonic Battle, Sonic Advance 3. It has stayed in my top 10 favorite video games of all time ever since I experienced it. And there are so many wonderful games out there, but to me, there will never be another game or experience that gave me those exact same feelings The Witch's House did. It's a game that wows you with its gorgeous presentation. It's a game that, no matter how much you know, like the back of your hand, can still manage to creep you out and even startle you all these years later. It's a game that makes you laugh with all of the comedic ways to die, and on that note, for a game that is considered to be in the horror genre, it surprises you with its sense of humor, and it feels like a breath of fresh air. But it's also a game that haunts you with its hidden story and twist ending. When you experience that ending, you will never look at the game the same way ever again. You will never be able to play this game for the first time again. From now on, you will play this game knowing the truth, and there is nothing you can do to change it or take it back. That is an impact to leave to every person that has ever finished it or watched a playthrough of it. And that is what I mean when I say that I don't think there will ever be another game like The Witch's House. And that is its haunting legacy.